Hi, hi, hi. Testing, testing, testing. Just doing a little test.
I'm gonna go.
Bogart, good to have you at the table with us.
I do. I love Bogart at the table. He's a good presence.
Good. I remember a summertime show that we did together. That was in the onset of like, okay, well, it's
I'm
summertime.
going live on my
just miss it.
Instagram, so
okay,
you know,
cool.
too, for a little bit.
It was.
Are we talking about the one at the Banger at Evans?
No, talking about the one with John over here that we had together.
Oh,
the four
yes,
of us.
yes.
And Xavier too.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
A year to the T?
Just I say Memorial
It's
Day
pretty
weekend.
damn close.
Whatever it's a day or two off, but it's,
Yeah.
Wow.
it's Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I do remember.
We recorded in mid or late September-ish when we did our podcast together that first time.
Oh, did we? I thought it was way later. No, it was summertime loving, bro. You.
Because I dropped
No, you
the
give
high
me. You
sale
gave me.
episode.
No, you
June 10th.
No, dude. I started back in May. That's where I got that
Yeah,
post
that's what I
flower
was saying.
power. Oh, I thought you said
Yeah.
September.
No, May.
You definitely
I
said
May.
September.
No, I didn't.
Go
Okay.
back and rewind.
Hi,
Sorry, I'm just
everybody.
kidding. Hello.
Welcome to the Maine Podcast live stream event. I'm here. I'm joined in-house. I reached out to Derek Shirley, Getting High with Cats, welcoming or asking him to come back onto the Maine Podcast so we could do this very special episode together.
Well,
And he accepted.
I did. I did. I was actually very shocked and surprised, but
We do that to
I
each
have
other.
to, yeah, and for me personally, I have to people hold my accountability more higher. So I like to lead by example of look. Times are
Amends
serious.
can be made to a certain degree enough for the
Yes,
betterment of
absolutely.
what we're all striving for and fighting
Absolutely.
for.
Absolutely. For me personally, we're at a crossroads of where I will work with essentially anyone except the enemy that will help get out the word any way we can. If that's going back to old bridges that
Weren't
we were
completely
able.
burnt?
What?
Weren't completely burnt? I
Well,
didn't
no,
burn
for
it
me,
entirely?
I think to break it, this is already going in too much. We need to tell them
we can talk about this on the back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
But I wanted to say hello to you.
Thank
And
you.
Thank
Well,
you for taking my invite. and
No
going with it.
problem. Like I said, it's one patient doing my part, and I feel like this is doing that.
It's a huge part.
I
to
try.
be vocal about it. That's what we
try.
need to do it in these times, I believe. Tomorrow on May 24th, VLA and the
Yes.
OMP here in Maine, state of Maine, are going to drop some decisions, or perhaps not drop some decisions.
Right.
Which in turn would have a pretty negative effect
The rules would automatically go into effect.
without any compromises or any of
Right.
the
If the
kind
bills
of
get
things
tabled,
they've been hearing back.
so
from.
if the bills get tabled, which was the gentleman that we were protesting today's, if it gets tabled, that would mean that what did I just say?
If the bills get tabled, it is going to put the rules,
bills
regulations
automatically
straight
go
in the way they are,
right in the way they
without
are.
any kind of amendments.
Correct.
Or influenced by the caregivers.
Correct.
Correct.
And that's how. So I've been doing some political canvassing through his jurisdiction to let his neighbors know, and I got some pretty cool talking points through to some of his local neighbors and residents of Scarborough that I'll definitely touch on later.
Excellent.
It's
They're
really
on
cool.
board too.
Some are, and it's crazy. The best part was it was people of all ages and of creeds, whatever, man. It was not just like there was some time there'd be an old grandma at the door. Like, I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be a hard one to like kind of win over. And 2 seconds into the pitch, understanding that like, hey, it's not about really, I'm not even here about cannabis. Your number one cash crop that has made 260 mil, which is a low number. That's not even, that's a ballpark, we'll even call it, is literally bleeding now, is going to be in major jeopardy if these laws go into play. And your representative in your district is trying to enforce that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it kills any kind of local smaller growth that could become invested into the industry. Or I call it an industry, but to become a caregiver and see that as a natural path of employment, education, creating medicine for others, all of those rights as individuals will be kind of pushed back further or minimized to the point where you really can't have any kind of success, or it would have to be just a side gig thing at that point.
No. At the end of the day, these big corporations don't want you to grow.
Yeah, right.
They don't. So like, this is just the first bite. Like I tell everyone when we're fighting this, to eat to battle something big. It's like eating an elephant. You got to eat it one bite at a time. They're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's like their bites are a lot more expensive though.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? And they can do it a
have a
lot, and they can
greater
eat,
range.
and they can eat that elephant maybe twice the speed as a local person.
Oh, sure.
That's the whole model that they work
We
off.
don't have you on a mic. We don't have you on a mic. Sorry, Bogart. I love you. By the way, we're joined by Bogart in studio as well.
Yes.
We do have 5 guests who are going to be joining us, and I'm momentarily going to be calling our first. It is Mark Barnett, owner of Higher Grounds down in the Portland area.
Founder of
caregiver
the
and cannabis activist.
Yes.
large
founder of the
part.
small of what was it? Maine Craft Cannabis Association. One of the founding members.
He was
of that.
one of the founding members.
Absolutely.
Mark will have some information to share with us on a more overall level, and then a little bit more specific as we go in. We're also going to be joined by Derek Short, who's become good friends for both of us, I believe, in
Yeah.
a sense. Really have a good bond with him.
He's a board member of the Maine Cannabis Coalition.
A smaller caregiver. He fits right into that niche of what you would consider a medical care provider. And his son is in a situation as well that he needs cannabis type of medicines in order to function well. And it's working. So here's a father taking care of his son. There's nothing more endearing in that sense, in the avenue and the way he's been going. But Derek has never been somebody to shy away from any type of injustice, is what I've noticed as well, whether it was at this point in time or much earlier in life. And so great to have him being somebody who's on our side here.
Absolutely.
I don't know Jill's last name, but Cohen Law will be joining us as well a little bit.
Polsner.
I'm sorry?
Jill Polsner.
Polsner, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
She'll be talking a little bit more about that 100% able to wholesale at 100% rather than what's in the laws or bylaws at the moment, and probably a couple other points of interest. And
Probably logo talk. I'll bring up logo talk.
Okay,
with
yeah,
her for
yeah,
sure.
you're big on that one.
Yeah, for sure. I love picking her brain with the logo talk.
We have Brett from Bridget Farms down in the South Portland as well as Biddeford area, I believe. Strong impact with how he's been very active in the community in voicing opposition and going further with steps, as many of you caregivers have. But he's been somebody who's been giving back. He's also been on Derek's podcast as well as Maine Potcast previously. And our final guest is going to be Chris from Cupcake Cannabis up north. And we're going to talk a little bit about what it is to be a caregiver here in Maine and the avenues and the issues and things that he's seen on the grander scheme, as well as a little Dawson talk towards the end, if we could.
Sounds
I'd like
good.
That. All right. I'm going to give Mark Barnett a call if you want to shoot the breeze or make music noises.
La, la, blue. No, but yes, I am ready I'm excited for all these conversations. These are all about, all these people that we're calling are about 10 times smarter than I am. So it is really good to hear all these groups coming together for this show, really. You know what I mean? This is huge.
It is.
I love it.
Hello, Mark, are you there? Hold on one moment. I'll see if I can get him.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah, I forgot.
bear with us for a moment, Mark.
I forgot. On Maine Podcast, they get scared of dead time sometimes, so we like to fill in the noise or like put some
you
tunes in.
connected to the road?
And my thing is, my thing, I'm never scared of dead time. So, no. What's the question, Carrie?
Are you connected to the Roadcaster?
Am I? I don't think so. Let me check my
I
settings.
apologize for this. Maybe.
Don't apologize.
I'm
This
connected.
is real life.
Okay, let's give it one more shot here. For some reason, it wasn't connecting.
There we go.
There we go. That sounds
We
more like
ringing,
it.
re-ringing.
Hello, Mark, are you there? Duke? Apologize here. For some reason, I'm not
He's
getting
thumbing
any
up.
audio.
I don't know what he's thumbing up, but he's thumbing up something.
As long as it works.
Oh, we can't hear him though.
Yeah, we can't hear him.
Are you guys able to do video chat?
Let me try that. I mean, it's more like it's not coming out on the other end here. Let me see if I can.
Now this stuff is always fun to watch. Get dark, right?
Real talk. Yeah. That's weird that we heard it ring, but not him talk. Ooh, but yeah, today was very hot. I was sweating a lot, and I still have the same shirt on, but I showered.
I needed to get coffee.
Yeah, I feel that. It was a beautiful day, though.
It was amazing.
Okay, we hear the ringing again.
Hello, Mark, are you there?
That is so weird.
Yeah. I'm going to have to, we'll have to come back to this in a moment here. Mark, I don't know if you can hear us, but I'm going to buzz you back. Okay. Yeah, not getting any of that. Let me see here.
Live action.
Yeah. Apologize for this.
Don't worry about it.
It happens.
That's why it's live, because it's good when it's live. Because when it's live and you don't show this, then it's like, wow, you guys are perfect. But it's not. Get in here, Duke. It's like, I'm just kidding.
Any ideas, Duke, what might be going on? Yeah, I know. Okay, I see. Did not get that. I thought video. I don't have great signals. Okay, let me try to. How do I do video? Just a video call instead? Or I don't have his Facebook. Yep. I'm sorry?
That's what we thought too, but it wasn't.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I apologize, Mark. I'm gonna just move. Okay.
Yeah. See, this is what happens when you try to plan time. Time's just like, fuck you.
Hello. Hello, Mark. No, he just. Oh. Yeah, Mark. We can't hear you at all. I apologize for that. Hopefully we can have something occur here. I'm going to try a different phone call just to see if I can hear somebody. Those are for independence difference.
Cool,
Yep.
cool.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Derek Short. I think I need to.
Okay. Do you think it will still work?
Maybe he said something about a bad cell where he was, so I've got to find out if that's what it is. So if
Derek Short will definitely be ready. Derek Short, if you're watching this, we're calling you right now. See, we hear the ring. That shit sounds fire.
Hello.
Yo.
Hey. Hi, Derek. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's Kerry with the Maine Potcast. Thanks for joining us.
And Derek Shirley
All right,
with
that's
Getting
right.
High with Cats.
You
Hey,
knew that
Derek,
was.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, Derek. How are you?
Good. Long time no see.
It's good to hear your voice.
I'm gonna try and marriage some calls. Maybe let's see how this goes.
All right, marriage some calls, Carrie. Old guy doing wild things. Get ready.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Wow, let's go.
Thank you, Mark. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
All right.
All right.
We have Derek Short on the phone with us as well, so maybe working the two of you into this, if that works for you guys.
Thanks for having me, Carrie. Go ahead. I can hear you. You can hear me.
Yes,
so.
we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yep, certainly.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Let it rip.
So we were talking about you a little bit earlier. You've been a very large proponent for the medical Maine cannabis. program quite a few years. You want to elaborate just a little bit on that before we dig into current policy?
Yeah, sure. My background, with cannabis itself is long, but prior to kind of getting my teeth into Maine's cannabis program, I worked as an analyst for highly regulated industries, and in my case, pipelines and electrical infrastructure. So I had a lot of experience with the fine minutia, I guess you could call it, of government bureaucracy, some of the ways that soft corruption and soft power are used, to protect monopoly positions and to protect large corporate interests against competition. So, as I kind of dive back in here in my home state with all of my friends who've been cultivating and launching a business plan and getting my project here at Higher Grounds in the Old Fort started, I guess I wasn't surprised at the amount of political shenanigans.
You've encountered quite a bit down there in the city of Portland. Was it more on a state level or on a city level with getting that off the ground as far as allowance for THC products, was it not? Is that what one of the holdups was?
Portland was a good 3-year slog, frankly, and I think Portland's experience puts the lie to the narrative that we hear over and over again, especially among some of the corporate lobbyists, that caregivers can't be regulated, right? That there's this Wild West. Well, if you're an operator, actually, it's kind of a Wild West of how out of control the government is with its regulations of businesses in this now fully legal industry inside the state. So I think, Portland has been its own wild roller coaster, and we ended up, probably not as bad a place as we started, as it could have gone. But it's certainly a testament to how difficult it is to even have a rational conversation around this subject. And at the state level, at least in specific for a medical storefront, there's a lot less in the direct licensing of your business at the moment. But as we're all experiencing with this new attempted proposed rule from the Office of Marijuana Policy, the relentless attacks on small businesses never really stop. And this is, kind of a big moment in that, but it's not going to be the beginning, nor is it the end.
No, sure.
So
this is one of those first this is one of those first kind of moments where the two worlds are going to have to battle. The representation for the smaller entities are going to. Is it best to say unite to a certain degree in order to have some success in pushing forward rules or regulations that do cater to, not cater so much, but don't make it where they're overregulated? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's something that's gotten lost in all of this is that, we're really spending so much energy just trying to play defense and trying to play catch up, that we don't get to have collaborative conversations. And I think the Office of Marijuana Policy is really the root of that problem. Within the industry, we know that there are larger players. We know that there are smaller players. We know there are people who are comfortable with more and less, and can afford to do more and less. And I think that's, one of the biggest fault lines that has emerged is that, at least the way that this is being pursued by the Office of Marijuana Policy, this is really a class war. This is really about class and resources and capital. And whether or not we as a state are going to just blindly follow the demands of capital and the investor class, or if we're actually going to put our own state economy and our own citizens' interests first.
Amen.
And, those two things are very far apart right now. And so it's very difficult to have a collaborative conversation. I would call the current round of what we're doing more of a hostage taking than a negotiation. And I think that's why we're not having a lot of productive movement, even though a lot of the conversations that we're having are very productive. Speaking to legislators, Mainers across the state have reached out. They've learned to grow their voices. They've learned to share their voices. And I think people are becoming aware of how much their action is needed. But the reason we're so far apart is because this is a hostage taking. This is not a negotiation.
Did that
And
become
until
a
we
lot
can-
more apparent? When did you recognize that? Did this become a lot more apparent in the last few years, or last year in particular, or have you always felt you've always been in this role where you've been able to? You talked about it, where you do a lot of consultation and you're able to evaluate business structures as well as how they can proceed within an industry. Is when did you first really identify this as the issue? This is the attack that's going on. I mean, maybe that's a little too broad, and it's existing.
there is
If
a
I'm not
moment, though,
wrong, it exists well beyond cannabis as well. Are we seeing that?
Yeah.
You see it all over.
Yeah, I think that there's two different questions there, and I'll speak to the first one first,
Okay.
which is about the turning point in my own awareness. I think most people come into the cannabis world with their heads bowed in a kowtow to the emperor, as a way to put it. You know that you have the Schedule 1 over your head. You know that everybody's gunning for you. You know that your opponents, especially the very well-funded ones, are literally spending money to not even let you try, much less out-compete you. And so you go in with this very subservient sort of posture in a lot of ways, because that the axe is always right above your neck. And that, I think, is just a natural outgrowth of the cultural attitudes and the cultural position towards cannabis more generally. It's, these bad folks, these drugs, we have to super control this, or else, all of your children are going to be smoking joints and killing babies. And I mean, literally, I don't mean to use rhetoric that's too strong, but that is the kind of language that you hear in the new drug war. And the new drug war is a corporate drug war. It's against competition from small business. And that's how the drug war has sort of shifted. I mean, obviously, all over the country, those are enacted in the criminal, justice way as well. In Maine, we're very lucky that we've moved forward. But to get to sort of the question, there were two really defining moments for me. One was meeting, at the time, Representative Craig Hickman during the deliberations on the MLI committee, and even hearing that there was a voice in the halls of power who was willing to represent other ideas and not just go along with the kind of, central party generated, corporate consultant and lobbyist generated narrative that caregivers are bad, even though everybody here in Maine knows that's not true, and that we have to get this crisis under control, or else our children are all in danger.
It's
and we
such an
also know
easy
that that's
stigma
not true.
to attach, though, isn't it? Given the background of where it comes from, and so
that's right.
it starts.
We're fighting an uphill battle. But again, I met Craig and just heard him speak about the issues being deliberated, and that was a moment of wow, there's actually some effort or some room to make a difference. And then the second big one was when they released the adult use rules. That's when I knew that this was a fix. That's when I knew that this was a large-scale, long-term, orchestrated plan to take this plant out of the hands of the Mainers who were building middle-class incomes, coming out of, other less kind of fruitful, productive jobs. That's when I knew that this was really about taking it out of the hands of the people. And that's also, I think, when we knew what the new medical rules were going to look like, when they finally got around to promulgating them.
Mark, let me ask
That's
you.
when I knew the activism was so necessary. Go ahead.
You had you've been going up to Augusta for need, have you not, for a while now? Would I be right in that assessment? Has it been a few years? Last 4 years?
Yeah, the last 4 years, yeah.
So you had seen the unrolling of the adult use program. What year did they start to really shape that? Was just that in 2019, where you were privy to most of the details that were going to be included in it?
I believe the adult use rules we really saw at, I forget exactly, I believe it was early 2019 perhaps. And that was, again, after the passage of 1719, which was, also accompanied by passing 1539, which greatly liberalized the medical program and which has been such a huge benefit for people of the state, businesses and patients. But, I mean, I believe it was sort of through 2019, the first half of it, the rules fight. And then, they needed the rules in order to start taking applications and to start launching. And it is a long process. But, that was when we saw the work of Andrew Friedman and Louis Koski, who brought so much poison into the equation for regulating cannabis in Maine, and who were invited in and who were lobbied for by
From where?
people who. So Andrew Friedman is a consultant who helped to craft Colorado's adult use program.
Yeah. Okay.
And he is, essentially an assassin for hire at this point, having gotten his sort of resume put together. With that, he's now been hired by other states like Maine and Illinois to do the dirty work of the large corporates, frankly, who are colluding with some of the more hostile elements in our own governments to essentially regulate the small business and any sort of reasonable framework for cannabis out of existence. So they've worked, all over the country by now, and his latest job is working for Philip Morris and Altria and Molson Coors to lobby for federal regulation of cannabis. So, we've got fights and fires going on at every level, and people like him are the ecosystem that really create.
This opportunity for it to all thrive further for these companies, unless for
the opportunity for them to further clamp down, and to further ensure that cannabis is just like any other large American industry, captured by a very small and very well capitalized few who can afford, all of the red tape and attorneys and accountants and complex business structures and $1 million lobbying campaigns and so on. Ag is no different than that these days in most states in the U.S. You could basically pick an industry in America that's industrialized, and that's the model that they're trying to lead us down. It's a consumer packaged goods sort of industrial production model. It's one that in Maine, we're not yet subjected to, and that's what we're really fighting to prevent from coming into the medical program, because it's already here in adult use, unfortunately.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, we've had a lot of outside interest already make their way in because of the way the bills were kind of relaxed on the residency last year. Was it maybe in May of last year, I believe? I could be. I think it was about that time frame. Or I'm sorry.
Residency is a really complex subject. I don't really believe it has much to do with residency. It mostly has to do with the actual rules that they pass for the program. If you allow people to compete on equal footing and not based on the amount of capital and patience and time and whatnot that they can muster, people are going to choose their local shops over the Walmarts, over the, whatever, pick your American brand name, which are the types of businesses that are now beginning to take over, sort of in cannabis. And, it's really not necessarily about residency. I understand the complexity of that argument and wanting to protect, folks who are from the state. And I think we would have done a much better job, and we wouldn't have been hoodwinked by the promise of residency protecting us if we had really just focused on making a better system. I remember when those rules came out and people looked at the crazy language about residency and thinking, oh, this is actually good stuff. What ended up not getting enforced? What was the only part of the adult use rules that didn't end up getting enforced?
The residency.
Everything else that we traded everything for.
It seemed like the golden egg, did it not?
It seemed like it, but it was always a delusion because it's going to be challenged in court, and here we are.
See,
sorry.
No, I was going to say is to speak on the residency lawsuit particularly. I think it was a calculated effort by Dawson to make them decide what is constitutional and what is not. Because then if they are defending, if they come out and say, hey, that residency law is unconstitutional, then that means their constitutional right is protected. But how when it's a federal illegal drug?
No, I certainly understand the nuance and the complexity of it. I'm
right.
not dismissing it as an issue. I just mean that Mainers got sold this lie that was going to protect them.
Right.
Clearly, the government didn't intend to utilize it to protect them. In fact, it had already weaponized the rest of the rules against all of us. And that was merely the cover and the pretty packaging that they put it inside of so that we would buy it.
Mark,
and I think it is worth the challenge. I mean, will the government enforce its own laws? And if not, then why aren't we questioning that in some of these other more egregious areas? I think that's a very
Absolutely.
valid conversation.
Mark, and it's not to dismiss the strength and the weight with a lot of the decisions that we're looking forward to tomorrow, governing the policy with the OMP and the VLA. Are there any in particular that you think are, say we start getting to this point where they do vote on everything? Or do you anticipate that, first off?
It's hard to know because there is obviously a lot of activity inside the committee and in the different political caucuses trying to figure out what the best direction is. And this is a crunch time in the legislature, so things are always very slippery. They're always very tense. We're at the moment where 2 days seems like an eternity, and everything that's tomorrow is the only thing in front of you. So tomorrow, LD 1242, LD 1319, LD 939, I believe, are the items on the work session. There are a couple other outstanding bills, 421, which would expand canopy, and then 882, which includes some fines and fee structure that I'm not, honestly, I forget, it's not in front of me, but I'm not sure that we'll get the vote tomorrow, though it's quite possible that we will.
You think it extends out through the rest, through the course of the week, perhaps?
I mean, there's an outside possibility, but I think everybody, at least within government, is really trying to sort of wrap this up. And, there's going to be a lot of desire to not continue to fight about this complicated and really emotional and somewhat ugly issue. So again, a lot of efforts are being made to, both communicate what everyone has already communicated to the Office of Marijuana Policy and to the legislature, that these rules cannot stand. They are not a place of negotiation, and everyone is saying the same thing except for the lobbyists from Curaleaf and the Office of Marijuana Policy.
Amen, Mark.
And frankly, tomorrow, if they can't recognize that as representatives of the people, then they should be questioning why they're there.
That's
and that's the message we're really trying to deliver to these folks is, look, we can't answer every point of complexity that you are confused about right now, because so few of them have any knowledge about this. They really need time to educate themselves on the issues, because they're huge and they're intersectional. There's issues of privilege, there's issues of money, there's issues of law enforcement, there's issues of criminal justice, of social equity, there's issues of class warfare, which we're seeing on full display. And they need to see, and they need to show tomorrow that they have heard the vast majority of Mainers, and that they are willing to trust those people over the three people, maybe four, throughout this entire process who have supported the direction that the Office of Marijuana Policy is trying to go. And, I don't think you really have to debate all too deeply to arrive at that. And that's what we're hoping will win the day tomorrow and over the week. And then we have to take the fight to the legislature. And I actually have to jump off to get on another call.
Mark,
but I wanted to
it's been
leave
great
everybody
Yeah, you did awesome, man.
one message.
Yes, you did awesome.
I've got one message left.
Please.
I got one message left.
Please,
which
by all
is
means.
that whatever gets voted out of committee tomorrow or Wednesday or whenever it does, it will be clear whether it's something that the community can support or not. And if it's something that we can all support, then we need to be writing our representatives and our senators our own letters, not just a single click-through campaign or something like that can often feel gratifying, and it does give numbers, but the personal message is what the reps actually read. So if you're able to take the time to very, think thoughtfully, positively about support, messages about defending our state, defending the people of our state outside from corporate interests, whatever the language is that you choose to use, within reason, of course, let your representatives know, because we're going to be mostly fighting in the House to override a veto. And that's the most important thing, is that your representative knows that people care and need this to happen, so that they'll be willing to fight the administration, because the administration is going to be fighting back and has been fighting back. So please, everybody, I know it's exhausting and it can be
Make it a
draining
personal
and
message.
emotional. Make a personal message to your rep and your senator to support the medical program and to reject the direction that the Office of Marijuana Policy is trying to take it. And that has to just be clear, and we just need to keep it going. And on June 2nd, people are going to be able to be back in the State House And trust me that the coalitions and the groups that are working so hard to defend people are going to be there in the hallways. So
we're excited to
keep it
hear
up.
that. We're happy to hear that. Mark, thank you so much for your time this evening, and good luck to you, and good luck to everybody, and for their
good
efforts.
luck for all of us.
Yes, good luck for all of us.
Heartfelt best wishes for all of us, because this does touch on everybody. So thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I will. We'll talk soon. Take care.
All right, you
Thanks,
too.
Mark.
Take care. Thanks, Mark.
I need some weed.
Yep. Hook up. My green bag is back
Oh,
here.
that was kind of Sequoia's cue.
Oh, it was Sequoia's.
Yeah, Sequoia knows.
I'm used to being the bitch.
Hey,
Really want to thank you for that, Mark. Thank you for your time. That was great. Derek, sorry that we separated from you, and I'm going to be giving you a buzz right now. It was great information to hear. Great to talk to him about it.
I can't read. I'm not a fast reader.
Hello.
Hi, Derek. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I disconnected.
No, that's
No,
fine.
we
Thank you. It
disconnected
made
from
sense.
you.
It's sort of, it would have been tough to really get that two-way story there. It was good to hear from Mark. And we did want to give you all an individual platform as well, because, well, we enjoy it. Your voice and your opinion is important. That's what matters to us. First off, I just want to say the last gram drop that we did today, number 3, the first half is our conversation that we had about a week ago or so. And I really wanted to get that information out there. It's really good. We focused a lot more about the rallies. We even talked about in a lot of the pressing issues. How's your weekend been, by the way?
It's been great.
Good.
Went down and we did a protest down in Scarborough today with Derek Shirley was down there.
That always makes for a good weekend.
It's eventful when Derek's around.
Derek, you want to yes, I know. I saw some of the videos. Derek, you want to just, for those who don't know,
my job.
talk a little bit about yourself and what got you involved in the situation and the role that you're currently in before we talk about the OMP VLA?
Oh, from the get-go, you mean?
Yeah, just a little bit about why you're in this, for those who haven't heard.
My son was diagnosed with severe autism. Had contact with Dr. Julia. He mentioned Dr. Sulak. I took him down there. My son hadn't made eye contact in 10 months at all. And he got his medical card, took a THC tincture, and 5 hours after his first dose, he came up to me and put his hands on my cheek and put his forehead on mine and looked me in the eyes and smiled. So I was sold at that point. I started making
Hey, let me ask you if a little bit before that, were you doubting it, or were you thinking, am I really doing this? What were your thoughts back then, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, I had no plan on doing it.
No.
I thought maybe CBD. But Dawson had talked to me about a child that he had worked with and had similar, almost instant breakthrough with the child. When it's your kid, you're willing to try anything. Once I talked to Dr. Sulak, that convinced me.
Yep.
But I don't think I would have ever tried it if it weren't for Dawson and Dr. Sulak.
That's awesome. Yeah, to have somebody who could guide you at that, or give you the opportunity, to really think about what that medicine could do potentially. Mm-hmm. And so it's been effective and it's worked really good. Yes. Yeah,
the anti-inflammatory factor of it is just it's unbelievable. He has a lot of inflammation in his brain and his spinal column. So he experiences a lot of head pain, a lot of the way he acts when he's having problems, it seems like his head's hurting. But the THC mixed with the CBD really is the only thing that works for him. They've tried other pharmaceuticals and didn't touch him at all.
No results. So nothing was going forward.
This is a must. This is a must.
And that's why you fight so hard. Yeah, is it not? right now?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I talked to Chris Chiazzo about it, and I said, you know, without this medical program, you know, without his prescription card, you know, if I have to give him THC and they come and test him, I could lose my child. I could end up in jail. I could, you know, you name it. And he said, well, you're taking it from 0 to 100 pretty quick, aren't you? And I said, well, you know, my child goes through Child Development Services for his education, and I mentioned it to the lady in charge over there that he was using medical marijuana, and DHS was at my house 3 hours later.
Yeah, that's
You know?
fast. Yeah, they
You hear
were
about the
taking
kids
that.
get-
They were just looking for an opportunity, were they not? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Kind of echoes what
Yeah,
Mark
they-
was saying earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they swarmed in on me quick, but I handed them his medical card, no problem at all. So
Good.
without that card, that's what you're gonna get.
Mhm.
You know, we had kids flee Washington State to come to Maine because of this company that wrote the rules. Let's face it, it's Metric that wrote these rules. It's the company that owns Metric, but let's face it, it's Metric that wrote the rules. Same company. They chased the kids out of Washington State. Now those kids are in Maine, and now they're chasing them out of Maine. You know, it's just
Wherever people are
when you got
going,
your-
this was a ripe opportunity for caregivers from or people who wanted to become caregivers from all across the country.
Correct.
We saw that happen.
This was a
Yeah.
safe haven for kids, and for me to see somebody like maybe Chiazzo not see how important it is
hmm
and kind of scoff at my story, it's kind of disheartening when they're supposed to represent the people and not protect the huge companies.
You've
from
had
away.
you've had conversations with Chiazzo before, have you not?
Yeah.
I
have.
Without putting words into his mouth, but asking you if you have encountered this, are there? Does he give you reasons that he might use for justification for not wanting to see it this way? Or I don't want to speculate if you don't know. That's fine.
I couldn't say. All I could tell you is, you know, he didn't seem like he put much weight in what I said about my child. And then he also claimed to me that people in his town are anti-marijuana. So
Derek, Shirley,
he
hold on one second, Derek. You guys were both there today, yeah?
Yeah.
Want to
Yeah.
say how it looked from your angle? Just quickly, you mentioned
No,
a couple
yeah.
stories,
So
but-
no, just I've recently, the last couple of days, took a stroll in Chiazzo's neighborhood to talk to his residents, to talk to his neighbors. The first door I knocked at was 100% for us and signed our petition. And that's when we walked down towards his house.
kind of in the same neighborhood, was it not?
Yeah, it is. So the funny part was, when I was doing this, I was just letting the neighborhood know what we were doing, that we were normal people. This is why you see us when you see us. So we let the neighborhood know before we went in, to let them know. But the feedback I received from the Scarborough residents, I received about. I'm saying I don't know the exact number on top of my head, but between 50 and 75 signatures I've received from Scarborough residents.
Congratulations, nice effort.
No,
That's
thank
good.
you.
But, that's-
I just, for me, it was just a lot of it is misunderstanding that they think we want zero regulation. They think we want it like the Wild West. I started changing my pitch to like, listen, we're not saying no regulation. We just want representation. And that really started to get with some people. But the beauty thing about some of these residents, some of these were these neighbors, old, young, it didn't matter. Like, people were down, and some people were on the fence when I was talking to them. But like, I explained to them, like, hey, look, let's say you don't even care about cannabis for 1 second. Let's think about the local economy. Let's think about the local businesses that will be affected by these rules. Period. I don't care how you feel about cannabis, frankly. This is just the facts and numbers. And like, that's how I won some, in my opinion, won over some stiflers, because they're like, whoa, relax, titty wearing yellow glasses, man, like, slow down. So as soon as I like got the pitch out, my pitch and what I felt were important information, more times than not, I only got told to like fuck off like 3 times.
Those aren't bad ratios for you, given your track record.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for me, yeah, no.
Derek, you want to speak on that? It was a point you were touching on, Derek, that I really wanted to follow up. It's about the.
No, because I just responded to that because he was talking about how he said the residents of Scarborough didn't care.
What do you see, Derek? What's normally your vantage point there about caregivers and I'm sorry, your viewpoint on regulations. That's what I wanted to touch on. The overregulation. Do you feel like it's overregulation, or like how in tune are a lot of caregivers that you know of? Like, listen, we're accepting of regulation, but this is too far. Is that kind of the overall feeling?
Yeah, I feel like this is a definite alignment with adult use, and I think the adult use people can admit that they have a bad deal. They signed up for it, though. They signed up for the deal knowing what the deal was. And it's a failed setup, and then they're trying to put that on us. Instead of adjusting theirs appropriately downward towards what we have going on, they want to bring us fully up to their piss poor setup that they have.
Yeah. And as you spoke on before, as you said before, this was pretty much all orchestrated and designed by a large company called Metric.
Oh yeah. This Metric and
the lawmaking and the policy as well.
Yeah,
a lot of influence on that, right? Even outside of their sphere of maybe data sharing and stuff like that.
Yeah, our state hired these people to write our rules, and they did so. The same rules as they did in Washington. Eric Gunderson admitted that he knew what happened in Washington. He knew it was the same company and still hired them. He said they don't plan on doing the same thing here, but they're the same exact rules and same exact bills to follow. So,
Yeah.
You can say what you want, but I'm watching your actions and they don't match. Sorry.
No, they don't. You've been fairly skeptical of results for the most part, from what you're told and what to believe in this situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a contract with that Metric feed to sale program already with the state, and let's face it, the agenda is to push this Metric program down our throat, no matter what. So. From what I've seen.
Yeah, there was a company at one time, I want to say maybe it was Green Bits or somebody, who was initially geared to gain that back when it was first introduced, and now guessing about what Mark said earlier, it was about early 2019. Then that kind of got pushed aside and Metric did come in. They reevaluated. State dropped.
Right.
And I'm not positive it was Green Bits. So, do you remember, Derek? Or do you remember that kind of talk or no? I just can't recall.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember.
You're talking about the other metric system?
The prior metric system that the state had agreed on or believed in to be the case. I want to say I thought it was.
What was it? No, it wasn't Green Bits, but I remember.
Okay.
But give me a second.
Okay, so it wasn't Green Bits. It wasn't Green Bits, but nonetheless, it was a different system that was going to be doing the data, and it fell through with the state. Hard to say that it wasn't because of the influence of what Metric had already created within the state, right?
Yeah, they seem to have some power.
Was it BioTrack?
Might have been BioTrack. That sounds familiar too. I wish I could.
Yeah, damn, it's something like that.
Derek, what are you hoping for most from what happens? I guess now, instead of assuming it's all going to be decided tomorrow, through the course of this week, what would best represent and what would best aid the medical program at this point? Any particular policies or?
Yeah, I would like to see 1242 go through. I'd like to see an economic impact study, patient medicine availability study. Give us a little bit of breathing room. You know, this was a big rush that they did. They said it took them 2 years to write these rules, but we saw spots in these rules
that long to cut and paste.
Cut and paste. Yeah, they forgot to erase a few things.
Right.
Well,
Oh shit,
and
that name
when
doesn't go there.
Right, and when I called Gabby the second day after they were released, I was asking her questions. And if you wrote these rules and it took you 2 years, you pretty much know them inside and out, like we all do now, in 4 months of dealing with them. But she had to keep flipping back page after page to find out what I was talking about, the questions I had. So that told me that maybe it wasn't a 2-year process. It was let's cut and paste this thing together and shove it down the throat. And
well
but,
orchestrated in a sense. Don't give a lot of time for a reaction. You know what's been really great about the cannabis industry, local here, that we've seen from the Maine, the people who have been caregivers here for quite some time, from that ground level up, the reaction has been, I mean, maybe a lot of you can speak to it, whether you agree or not, but I feel like there's been a lot of progress done by individual groups, by coalitions, by associations, and individuals to work to thwart this. It's been that extra year of COVID, in a sense, pushed that timeline back. And in the meantime, I want to say we got a little bit more organized. We had the chance to be a little bit more organized. Imagine this happens last year in May. I don't know if we have the same kind of reaction that we do now.
Yeah, I think there's urgency behind what they're trying to push through, because they know the longer they wait, the more powerful we're going to be. Yeah,
if this got, for some reason, it became unresolved and moved on to another year, you can't tell me that they'll ever get their way. I think we become that much more powerful as an industry, as a potential for having longevity. This is the tough hurdle.
Yeah.
Well, just know if
they
we
don't get it.
Go ahead, Derek.
One of many. I shouldn't say it ends, but it at least gives us a fighting chance. Go ahead, Derek. Yeah.
Yeah. If we don't get it, if they don't get it pushed through now, it probably will get revisited again next January, and these people are going to be looking to get reelected. They're not going to want to battle this.
No.
During while they're trying to run for office again or try to get reelected. It's a large amount of the population. It's at least 110,000 people directly affected by it.
Yeah, just on a patient level, correct, or somewhere thereabouts. But as we know, there's still plenty of people I know who are able to access it straight through whatever avenue it is. There's still a larger percentage than that who are immersed in it. I mean, the vote was about 50-50 back in 2016. I still believe there's that many involved. I think it's a larger percentage of the population who are consumers or patients, one or the other. But we're certainly focused on the patients. Derek, any parting words for tonight before tomorrow? Tomorrow's anything that you'd like to impart and let people know?
Yeah, so everybody can just keep an ear open to what goes on tomorrow. We're going to have either ought to pass or not to pass. Then it's going to go to the legislature, and then you're going to have to call as many reps as possible and senators as possible to guide them as to what we're looking for them to do and what bills that we want passed and which ones we don't. But just to stay informed. And if a rep gets 3 calls in a day, it's a hot subject. So I'm pretty sure Chris Chiazzo got 213 emails yesterday. So he might have gotten more as of today. But
so you're echoing what we heard before as well, which is great. Keep in touch with your legislators. Correct?
Yeah, that needs to happen to get this stuff through. If they don't hear anything, they're going to think it's not a big deal. So.
Thank you, Derek. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, you as well. Have a great night.
Bye now.
Bye. Excellent to hear from him once again.
Yes.
Boy, this is it's been there have been some similarities with what they're kind of
It's a
either
web.
regarding or it is, isn't it?
Been building it for a long time,
Dude,
since
this
before
past
last
year,
summer,
dude,
bro.
I saw it, man. I saw it.
No, you didn't though.
No, I didn't. Not in cannabis.
No, right,
But the world
but
started
the
to
web
slowly become like
yes, but this is all
taken apart.
This is all, like I've been trying to put this web together for such a long time, and the fact that it keeps getting deeper and deeper. That's why we need to keep talking, because there is patterns. You hear patterns in every story. That's why it's like important that we literally like what you and I do.
Yeah.
Talk to people. That's like the most important thing, because the moment we stop talking is the moment they win, really, because like if we're not talking, we're not growing.
Yeah, no, and we're not looking to always be agreed with, but
No.
we're looking to have an opinion on. And so I'm learning to be a little bit more opinionated.
Yes.
I'm getting there.
You have to be.
But it's also right. And so what I've seen in the past year, and I've touched on it a couple times. I'm one of those guys who posts like once every 2 weeks on IG, and I'm like, or maybe you'll get like 3 stories at once, and I disappear, because part of it is also like a personal battle with what's going on too. Like I'm trying to understand it and trying to be like not so deluded into some of this either.
Right.
Because you can be consumed by it as much, and it's good to be. It's good to be knowledgeable about it. I guess it's about how far do you want to go.
Right.
Do you think you can live and breathe it every day? I wonder that about myself. If I could cope with
dude,
thinking that
like I
way.
said this morning, there's about 31,000 people, 32,000 people roughly that are still in jail for cannabis. Until that number is 0, I will always be motivated. Plain and simple. Like me personally, having that felony for cannabis for 4 ounces of pot, being locked in a cell and feeling like I'm a dog because of a plant, it gave me time to understand and think and understand that, okay, if I can't do it in this state, I'm going to have to leave. And that's what I did. So for me personally, no, not everyone can live and breathe. They will die.
Yeah.
They will go crazy.
Yep.
But for me personally, my motivation, I love Maine. I do it for locals. I always will. But for me personally, this is bigger than all of us. 31,000 people are still in jail because of cannabis.
And maybe you can back me up on this. And so I'm going to generalize a little bit, but I think 36 states are now medical. Somewhere in that range, right around there.
That part,
where over 25 of them, they'll have an adult use program going into action this year, or at least.
Right.
Am I right?
No, I don't quote me on the exact numbers on what states, but my biggest issue is that having a medical state really doesn't mean shit, because like when you're like a medical state like Florida or Pennsylvania, their medical prices are the same prices as a rec weed.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Is it because it's the same producers, you think?
No, because like in Pennsylvania, at least they like just bought it out immediately. There was no chance, or like my other favorite one. I know it changed recently, probably, but on the back of a New York medical card, it says they could, because of public safety, they cannot smoke cannabis for public safety. And what's OMP always pounding in our ears?
Always health and public safety.
Public
For
safety.
the kids.
So that's why that shield and umbrella of public safety is very dangerous, and why we need representation up in there to like say, frankly, what is dangerous? You know what I mean?
Speaking of the kids, our logo and branding, and I'm going to bring on the next guest
Yes.
here, Jill. Was that a good segue?
I
Did
think
work
so.
that in all right?
It
Did I
worked
grab
good
a
for me.
spot?
I'm a little ripped, but I did it. Worked for me.
No, you're right. There's always that health. And so I think that even goes beyond into a lot of different areas outside of cannabis as well. It's always that health and public safety. But to what extent are we going to neutralize and sterilize everything? Hey, Jill, how are you?
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey.
Yes, right. You know Derek, of course. Yes.
I would only be on a podcast with Carrie as a mediator with me and Sherwin.
Yay! I take that as a
Oh,
compliment.
that's awesome. I appreciate that, Jill. Thank you.
Are we like the missing pieces of the puzzle? Like, is this like one of those things when everyone has like a nuclear key and they have to come together?
I guess so.
That works for me.
What's happening?
Yay!
We've had some very good discussions with Mark Burnett once we got going, and with Derek Short. Did you happen by chance to hear any of that?
I did, and I thought I wished now that I had gone first, because those are tough acts to
You
follow.
said in the middle.
I know.
Did you not? Well, we do appreciate them contributing tonight, and we appreciate you coming on and contributing as well. We had a little bit more of a specific topic that we wanted to discuss a little bit, at least to start, and we can go from there.
Sure.
The Shirley, you want to talk about it? The wholesale to start it, or did I catch you at the wrong time?
You talked the wholesale. Remember, my line was about the logos because I always talk to her about the logos.
Sure. I'll let you guys get into that. So the opportunity for caregivers to have the 100% wholesale ability to have that.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I really am, and I've done a little work behind the scenes, working with Maine Cannabis Industry Association, and I actually get all my intel from Mark Barnett, but I also work with Maine Cannabis Industry Association. I sent in a little one-pager to ONT last week on 100% wholesale and why I thought it was better for public safety to have 100% wholesale.
And what was that for? And what reason do you find it to be a little bit more on the safe end? Like it justifies that purpose?
I think it allows caregivers to specialize. I think there are caregivers who are really dialed into how cannabis and CBD can work to help people, like what Derek Short was just talking about. Not every caregiver is going to have the knowledge to serve a patient like Derek Short's son. Mm-hmm. And I think it allows for an amount of specialization with caregivers so that you can say, okay, I'm going to be a caregiver that gives direct patient care. And so I'm going to educate myself on this, or maybe I already have this knowledge, and that's going to be my specialty. And I'm not going to have to, manufacture or cultivate because that's not where my strengths are. And I can buy those products wholesale. And then you have cultivators and manufacturers and edibles creators who can say, you know what, I'm going to stay in my lane and do what I'm really good at and be a cultivator or make edibles or make extracted products or all of the above. And I am not good with patients. I don't have that knowledge, and I would rather just do what I do really, really well and put a great product into the market so that the caregivers who are providing that direct-to-patient service have the products they need. So I think that the 75-25 distinction is just meaningless at this point. Mm-hmm. It's based on annual yield. There's no way really to quantify it. And I don't know.
Yes, right, because you could, in actuality, pretty much sell all, say you had 4 harvests in a year, you could basically sell the first three of the year off to other caregivers or facilitate sales in that way. And that last one could be all yours if you so choose, right?
Right. And there's no requirement that you receive money for that 25%. You could give it away. So I just don't know what the significance of it is. In listening to these VLA work sessions, I've heard reference to, we need caregivers to be providing actual care. Mm-hmm. And I get that. Sure, I get that. But at the same time, I think performing that function of putting safe, great, well-dosed product out into the market is giving care, even if you're not the one handing it directly to the patient. So I think care is a big umbrella, and being a caregiver can encompass all of those activities. I think that the 25% has created a huge demand for delivery services. So I think everybody's got a delivery service, and I think the function of those often is to satisfy that 25% direct-to-patient sales. And maybe this would take some, cars off the road that are driving. There are some as we saw in Portland, some inherent risk with delivery services. I mean, things do happen. And so I've seen this proliferation of delivery services.
Are you talking about like muggings?
25%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to? I'm just making sure I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm talking about unfortunate crimes that
Yes.
happen to caregivers and caregiver assistants that are delivering direct to patients. So I think that does have some built-in peril. And, this way people wouldn't have to do that to satisfy that 25% requirement. And I know you all remember this, but it started out as 30/70, and then within months was changed to the 75/25 that we've had since, I think, first quarter of 2019.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I believe you.
And so I just don't know the point of it. To me, that's that and a couple of other things are my number one priority. I think it's what would most benefit many caregivers. I think it's a benefit to patients. I think it's
It does create a little bit more of an expenditure of time or finances for somebody to have to invest into something like that. And we've already heard it and we know it. There's a lot of 1 and 2 person operations most of the time within a high percentage of these groves. Oh, I think we lost Jill. But anyways, I think I was making a good point. I'll get her back on.
Yeah.
There's. Hey, Jill.
Hi.
Hi, we got you back. I don't know if you heard any of what I said. It was probably useless information.
I think you were talking about the 1 and 2 person operation.
Yeah, predominantly. I think that comprises a good amount of the percentage of caregivers in Maine, does it not?
It does. And I think, I represent a lot of caregivers, and a lot of them are 1 and 2 person entities. And probably a few times a week, I have this conversation with a client about what to do about that 25%. And so, it's a problem for a lot of people. A lot of people are operating at home, and, their neighbors really frown upon the type of car and foot traffic it takes to support that 25%. I'm dealing with that issue with a client in one of the towns right now who's operating as a home caregiver, and the neighbors are all riled up about it. So I think it could solve a lot of issues to allow that 100% wholesale. And I just think it's not a big shift. I think it's a great compromise move for OMP to be on board with that, if they were to be on board with that. And I think they will be. I mean, what I'm hearing is it may not happen this session, and that it'll be talked about some more over the summer. That was the last I heard. But I'm holding out hope for 100% wholesale.
How come it blindsides them? This idea or this concept of maybe going 100% wholesale. How come it doesn't seem like there's you talked about it perhaps or potentially being tabled going forward, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for the short term, but if nothing is resolved or if it continues in an adverse direction, where if years or a year down the road, would that be a concern? You think, Jill?
I would not want it to be tabled for a year. I think it's, if you're talking about the ability for caregivers to be viable and to compete and to build their businesses, I think this is an important part of that. I don't want any of this to be tabled for a year. I think this is a huge effort for all involved. I mean, particularly the caregivers who have just been out protesting and campaigning and contacting their representatives. I mean, I think we need resolution. I think we've got to move forward from these issues so that people can focus on what's most important to them, and that's building their business.
Yeah, looking towards the future a little bit more with something that feels stable.
Right. I think this is, it's a lot of noise. I think it's very uncomfortable to operate in this environment. And everybody wants to do their part, but at the same time, it's weed. I mean, I think we all want to really enjoy the industry and what we're doing in it. I know I do. And I know that sounds trite to be like, oh, it's supposed to be fun and this is hard. I get it.
No, but you have enjoyed the culture, haven't you? And if it's okay if I share, you're originally from the Georgia area, are you not?
Yeah, and it was interesting listening to you all talk about how many medical states are there, because Georgia is what I like to call a meaningless medical state.
Yeah.
There are 6 available cultivation licenses. It's low THC oil only.
Wow.
You want to talk about the fixes in. Those 6 licenses were spoken for long before whatever licensing process the state underwent. I mean, those are huge contracts. I mean, Georgia is 10 times the population of Maine, so there are 10 million people in Georgia. They claim this medical program will only serve 15,000 people. That's how many.
Oh, wow.
So
A
you're
very slow
absolutely right.
rollout is what you're saying.
It is a very slow rollout.
Wow.
And I just laugh at that. You know, when I'm in Georgia and I drive around, and I think, oh, that'd be a great location for a weed store. Like, that's my mindset now.
That's how you look at
everywhere I
things
go.
now, isn't it?
That's how I look at things, or I think about
You're
how
assimilating
difficult-
into the Maine life very well.
Exactly. But, you know, and then I think Andy and I joke about it. We'll be like, yeah, 10 years from now, maybe, you know, but if you look at the map and you look at that number of 36, states like Georgia are included in that. So it's sort of a false number. You want to talk about meaningful medical programs, maybe 25. Maybe 25.
Would you put it that high about meaningful? Yeah. I mean, I know
I'm
of a
not
few
sure.
off the top of my head. Like, I feel like Michigan's program is still pretty
Oklahoma.
grassroots.
Oklahoma is the closest one to us.
I would believe, though, there's a lot of corporations in the Oklahoma one as well, are there not? Do you know, Jill?
I have only started paying attention to Oklahoma
More recently? Yeah, same
because
here,
of
to be
this-
honest.
Yeah.
This metric throwdown. But I'm sure they're faced with the same. I'll say this about it. I get calls from cultivators in Oklahoma wanting to branch out in Maine. If you all took my calls for a day, your heads would explode.
Consider
I
it
can't
done.
tell you-
Be careful what you wish for. I would absolutely love that.
You can take my call.
We can switch phones. Yeah, instead of like what was the show? I don't know. Anyway, we would just switch phones for a day.
Right.
Let's just,
I would love that.
Yes, let's just switch phones.
But it would blow your mind.
I would go nuts.
With who contacts you nationwide, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the new thing that I have gotten a lot post-pandemic is people calling up being like, I want to move to Maine to be a caregiver. And it always sort of stops me in my tracks for a minute because I just am like, no. Like, I've actually said that to people who call me. It's like, no, it's not for you. This is a homegrown program. You know, nobody moves to Maine to be a caregiver. Why don't you want to be in the adult? You know, I try to sort of figure out, you know, why they don't want to be in the adult use program or why they don't want a dispensary license. But it's because of the low barriers to entry. Like, it's this double-edged sword about regulating caregivers, right?
Yeah.
If you make it too easy, everybody's going to want to do it. And I can't tell you how many of those calls I get in a week from somebody from not in Maine who wants to be a caregiver. And it's sort of my spidey senses, you know, go up about that. So the competition's not just, and I don't think competition is the right word, but the forces at work are not just coming from the adult use side. It's these low barriers to entry on the caregiver side that make it.
I never really thought of it that way, but that's a good point.
I mean, just to be devil's advocate, because everyone knows me, isn't there going to be another reason why 100% could be a little bit, not, I don't want to say scary, but because I support the 100%, to be clear. But if like we said, if we keep it that low, like we said, that's going to be kind of dangerous that anyone could. What's really stopping like anyone that, like you said, kind of like anyone that can be a caregiver, and then just kind of and just wholesale to whoever.
I think 500 square feet is probably what discourages a lot of people. You know, that I think if you take away and, you know, there's been a million different bills out there, right? And there were ones to increase canopy size. And so if you were to do away with 75-25 and increase canopy size, I think you can see what might happen there.
Right.
But keeping it at 500 square feet, and I'm not saying I think that's right either. I don't know all of the answers. That much I can tell you. It's because, you know, I believe in access to all, whether you have a medical card or not.
Right.
And that may be an unpopular sentiment on this podcast.
No, I think we respect all views, honestly.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, Carrie just came back from a pee break, if I'm being real.
Oh, yeah. So, I really believe in access for all. I don't think you should have to have a medical card to have access to cannabis. And that's where the adult use market comes in. And I believe it was Derek Short who said earlier, and I wholeheartedly agree, the problem is the overregulation of the adult use market. And I've said that all along. It should not be a matter of having the caregiver program be brought up to the standards of the adult use program. There should be a meeting in the middle. And I am encouraged by signs, things that I'm hearing about sort of a exemption for home caregivers that are maybe operating under a certain canopy level from them having to comply with metric and the security requirements and all of that. I don't know how that will end up in writing or what that'll look like, but I'm hearing some rumblings about that. And so I think the message has been heard loud and clear about, we really have to protect the small caregiver, particularly the home-based caregiver. That's what the program's built on. And then once you move into a commercial space, at that point, the town can regulate you, so certainly the state's going to. I think that's a different ballgame.
No, that is, and I think if they already have that opportunity within that municipality, wherever it might be, if they're already open to it, I think most of them are making investments into understanding a little bit more. I've seen it happen with Nick over in Green, Nick at Black Tie over in Green. There's a start with what's been going on the city council. Not much knowledge, not much interest, but it's growing, or at least there's this community. They're starting to understand it a little bit more. But Nick's been forthright, and both of them over there have been, with creating a relationship with the municipality, letting them know a little bit more.
Speaking of municipalities, I've been working with Scarborough for years, and I reached out to Shirley when I saw that he was headed to Scarborough.
Yeah, she did.
I said, this is not a marijuana-friendly town. I spent 2 years going to their ordinance committee meetings and town council meetings working on their ordinance. And in 2016, Scarborough voted, I don't know if it was overwhelmingly, but by a wide margin against the ballot initiative. They did another vote in 2018, and that's when they voted against retail. And it was a long project or process to get them to opt in, and they did end up opting in for manufacturing and cultivation, all the non-retail uses. And I'll tell you now that
what sold them on it? Was it the income? It's almost like a passive income by doing it that way. No,
I think it was the opportunity to regulate a large number of existing businesses. If I had to point at one thing,
okay.
There are a lot of cultivators and manufacturers in Scarborough.
Yeah,
there is.
And being able to kind of get them all on the grid, license them, regulate them. And, we had the chair of the ordinance committee was very savvy. There were issues going on in Scarborough at the time unrelated to marijuana. So they felt like the town council and the citizens of Scarborough really didn't have an appetite for controversy. So that's why we never could get any traction on retail. But now it's one of my favorite towns to work in. They have a really straightforward licensing process. They are great to work with. They've done a lot of work around the science of odor mitigation, which is really interesting. So it's the pendulum is kind of totally swung from one end to the other. But
you said they're getting into the science of odor prevention or elimination.
They hired an odor mitigation specialist. And he went out to one facility in particular, and now they have
That's really interesting.
They're about to enact a very specific ordinance, and maybe one of the most specific in the state. It actually requires 10 cycles of air refreshing per hour. I hope I got that number right, but it really
How aggressive is that? Oh, they rolled it down?
It's just. Say that again, Carrie.
I asked how aggressive that is of a rate to be at. Is that extraordinarily like a large?
No, it's pretty reasonable.
Pretty
I think
reasonable.
They actually, they toured the facility and they have a whole chart. It's all on their website under the ordinance committee. If anybody wants to look at it, it was really interesting because I've always thought, gosh, you can't quantify anything about odor mitigation, but you actually really can. And so it requires now, they're about to enact this ordinance. They just had a meeting this past week about the language, but it'll require these 10 cycles per hour, and it's going to not just hold the caregivers accountable, but the landlord as well. And everybody was really into it. All the caregivers cooperated. They had sent out a survey in advance, and the caregivers filled it out. And so Scarborough is one of my favorite places to work now. So, but at the same time, I can see why the representative, why Chiazzo says what he says about that town. It wasn't easy, that's for sure.
No, it was done not less for the idea of embracing cannabis and more for the idea of embracing the opportunity, like you said, correct, on the city level?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really do, because their ordinance is reasonable. Like, there's nothing crazy. It's just like, hey, we just want to license and regulate these businesses, and we're going to allow these existing operators to convert to adult use or stay how they are, and bring in new businesses. I think there was some concern once the licenses started going through, because they hear them all at the council level. And so going through that process, there were, I think, 4 or 5 groups of licenses last fall. So there was some public pushback, thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many marijuana businesses, but they were all already there. Those first batches, 25 or so licenses, were existing businesses. And then it's definitely trickled off. So I think that there.
Do you think that's because of the
concern.
uncertainty of the next, or is it because it's already such a pretty large amount invested? Different corporations, different entities who are down in that area or through the state. Do you think? A lot of the people in Scarborough were just caregiver operations that then had to get licensed. There's now a few bigger corporations there, Cannacorp's there now for sure, and I think a lot more. I've heard of a lot of other people taking space in Scarborough and relocating to Scarborough. It's just a great place to get licensed. It's a decent place to do business. They have a great code enforcement officer, a really receptive assistant town manager. So I actually love Scarborough. But I get why it's not a great thing to have Chiazzo at the helm for this hearing. No.
Knowing the pushback that came from the
that he might be
town.
susceptible to as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can, and I'll shift it. Any parting advice or any parting direction? We're kind of asking you guys as final words, sort of on what to expect or what to feel after the information that comes our way tomorrow or through the week. Anything to be on the lookout for most, or what you regard as key?
I just no, nothing in particular.
No.
I have to talk with Shirley about logos, but
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Let's go that way.
But I will say this about the hearings, whatever way, and me, Carrie, I'm a glass half full kind of gal, but whatever way it goes, everybody's going to be fine. And the site, I think the caregivers have had a huge impact in a positive way, and everything everybody's doing is making a difference. So, and so, yeah, Shirley and I like to bat around logos.
Yes,
about
do tell.
Why different things are allowed and not allowed. And so 9 out of 10 times I say to him, because it's a packaging prohibition. That's why High North can have a moose on their sign in South Portland.
It's just
because
bullshit.
It's probably not on their packaging.
Right. It's just bullshit. Sequoia's in the studio. I just want to let everyone know, when my kid comes out and that moose is still there, I'm driving past that every day and gonna give my kid a treat and Pavlo dog that moose off of there and have my kid be ready to get that moose. My kid is gonna be like, I love that moose, Dad. It's a great moose for the rest of its life until they get it removed.
Right.
That's gonna be my move.
But the one that really blows our minds, I guess, would be Alien.
Yes.
As a logo.
Yes, we always talk about that.
Because they are literally not plant, not fruit, not human. And so
does it need to be a grotesque looking alien in order to be?
I think the census we came to is as long as it didn't have human features.
Right. So
But,
it
like, so
really
you-
can't have a regular face.
I just wanna put an alien head just with like I don't even know, maybe a fruit or how about tomato though? The tomato's a good one.
I already told you that a tomato is a fruit.
And what did I say? I said I have a group of Reddit followers that would beg to differ. We need the courts to decide this.
Reddit court?
Well, I'm worried if we
Smalls
talk too much
claims.
about aliens, we're going to get a rule revision from OMP that specifically includes aliens. So
Yeah, because they had an issue with the mermaid. They had an issue with mermaids.
the mermaid is literally half animal, half human.
Yeah,
So it
but-
hits 2/3 of the category.
No, but it's a mythical creature.
There's
it's-
nothing about whether the creature has to be real.
Okay.
No,
So, like,
there
a
is nothing about
centaur,
that, right?
You should not put a centaur on your packaging.
So my thing is
Have to be
vegetables
that
then.
word.
So vegetables are okay though?
I know that's an interesting one, right?
Like because I have no here's a free one for everyone. Start a broccoli company. That's all you gotta do.
I'd go
And
with potato.
broccoli, dude. Back in the day, like they would call it broccoli. There's like a
or devil's lettuce.
boom.
Somebody's got to have that.
They better. If
Yeah.
not, it's gone now.
You guys better race to the federal trademark.
Yes.
Is that one of those that's just been passed on continually that through generation? Well, I call it
I think
generation.
so.
No,
Through
yeah,
decades.
no, definitely for
Yeah.
sure. Because I
I
always
hope it's here in 10 years.
Because I always hear it I always think of it like to like grandma say, the devil's lettuce. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, that's a
You
good
could
one.
put that on packaging. Not the
could.
devil's face, but the lettuce.
Right. But could he have a pitchfork? Could the lettuce have a pitchfork?
Yeah.
With a tail.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Just can't have a face.
Okay.
sold.
That's
Done.
my advice.
So someone just needs to get like a head of lettuce as I just picture a head of lettuce with a pitchfork as a logo. So that should be good to go.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. There's a free one for you. Devil's
Free one.
lettuce.
Put it on the
Devil's
site.
lettuce.
Send it. We'll see some new caregiver come up with that. The devil's
I'm surprised
lettuce.
It hasn't happened already.
All right.
Anything else on? you guys?
No, just one thing, one more logo.
One more thing.
I want to run past her.
Yeah.
I think we touched about it before. Like, so if cookies would come here, would they have an issue? You think?
Only if it's like a cartoon cookie. You know, if it's like I just saw. Didn't we see one in another state, or there was an article about a cookies?
About a mom went into one or something?
mom.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right. I saw
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I wonder.
I thought it was a bakery.
Yeah, and I don't know. That could probably have been staged, but it was still like, but still like, what, like for here, so like baked goods is baked goods not on that list?
It's all about whether you make it look attractive to kids.
But what does
I
that
saw
mean?
one today that was literally the Fritos bag, the Ruffles bag.
Oh, I saw that too. Yep,
Yeah,
that was identical.
and that's just ridiculous.
No, I
don't
agree
know
with
how
that.
They get so far in the process, and where's Frito-Lay? You know, why aren't they defending their mark?
Oh,
So-
don't worry, Skittles is coming.
Is it going to come to colors too?
Well,
Are
that's
they
what.
gonna start
Yeah,
doing
there
it
was an
sort of
article.
like,
She posted an article about the colors. Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah,
Oh, you did. I missed that on the colors. My bad.
Right, you did, right? I didn't make that up.
I think at some point, like usually if I have one with a client that I have the least concern about, we go ahead and send it over to OMP and get their thoughts on it. And
I want that job at OMP. Logo approval. I want that job.
Well, be careful what you wish for. Like I worry sometimes that some of the rules and laws put forth are just job creation for OMP. So
Oh, shit.
Oh, you'd be in that part of the office.
Right. I
Right.
don't want to be in the Department of Logos at OMP.
Mhm.
So.
Jill,
All
thank
right,
you
well,
for your
guys are
time.
Awesome. Yeah.
Appreciate you
Great
coming on.
Thanks,
and sharing
Joe.
with us.
Thanks for your time.
Always very
Yes,
good talking
thank
to you.
both. Yep. Talk again soon. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night. Bye bye. Did you get to the bottom of it with logos, or
Devil's
is it
lettuce.
just,
I'm good
a
with
little bit
devil's
further
lettuce.
down the pipe, like you
No,
don't
they're
even know where
literally
it is?
sometimes we'll message each other. I'll like anything I think of in the middle of the night, day, whatever. I'm like, how about this? Can I make this? And the alien, I totally forgot about that. The alien, yes, we always discuss aliens. How aliens, the logo.
I'm gonna move straight to Brad if that's okay.
Yeah, I might. Warm them up. I gotta go.
You gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta go.
That's fine.
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, good evening, Brett. How are you? Can you?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me, Brett?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great, excellent.
You hear me all right?
Derek just went off mic for a second. He's going to come back. He had to go to the bathroom. So I'll let you know when he returns. Joining us on the line is Brett from Bridget Farms. I didn't give you an intro there, but I wanted to now. Thank you so much for coming on and talking a little bit about what's happening here on the state level.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Derek has returned now, but he's about to put the headphones on.
Yes,
so we'll
yes.
get there.
Hello, kind sir. How are you?
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, they
tonight?
have me talking for 90 minutes straight, so I had to go to the restroom real quick.
Understandable.
Thank you. Thank you for being patient. How was your day?
Excellent. Had a really nice day.
That's great.
Hey, if you don't mind, actually, I'd like to point out something you're doing on 710 holiday, by the way. And I bring that up because I'm pretty excited about the idea that this is actually occurring.
Yes.
Before we get to business, you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we came up with this concept that really started as an art gallery style show for glass pipes and for some local metal artists and painters. And we're going to do that at the House of Hash, call it the Hash Bash, and just have a really big 710 celebration. And then a couple of our customers had asked if it was also a contest, and that got us thinking, and we're like, oh wow, we could do something cool with this. So we announced the Hash Cup, and we're selling 30 judges passes, and we're basically taking all the money from the judges passes and giving it to the winner of the contest, along with a bunch of cool stuff for the judges that buy the passes. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So excited to do that for the first time, and I think it'll be good. We got a lot of good feedback so far, so I think we'll sell out the judges passes, sell out the competition slots. Are free to enter if anybody's listening that wants to enter their concentrate. Thinks it's the best.
You gonna
out
enter
there.
anything in, Derek?
Well, no, not to plug anyone, but I met with Mike Wilson from Maine Cannabis.
Oh yeah.
And he gave me a gram of Sunday Driver hash rosin washed by Teddy, Can of Melts.
Mm-hmm.
And I messaged him. I'm like, yeah, you should put it in that. I said, you should definitely put that in the contest.
You must be getting a pretty good reaction from a lot of caregivers. This seems like a fun event. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, we're hoping it is, and we hope it would just kind of bring it all together. There's a lot of debate on is live resin better, is rosin better, and that's why we wanted just like one big open contest and see, okay, who just has flat out the best concentrate, and let the people decide.
Mm-hmm. Based off of early results, I want to say that it was the rosin, the hash rosin, was a heavy favorite from people's eyes. Was it not a preference?
Yeah, I think we're kind of anticipating that primarily hash rosins are going to enter.
I hope there's a ringer in there, dude. I hope there's a ringer.
Live resin done right is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, definitely an opportunity there. So we'll see.
Cool.
And we haven't announced any of our guest industry leader judges yet, but I will mention, since we're on here with Derek Shirley is going to be one of our 10 guest judges.
Oh, no, thank
shit.
you.
Congratulations, Derek.
Thank
That's
you.
great news.
Yay, I'm pumped. Thank you so much.
That's awesome news.
I recently was at your store. I dropped off the petition because I know you guys you get a nice amount of foot traffic in there from all areas. So I appreciate you guys participating in that effort.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Speaking of efforts and what's facing us here in the
Carrie's
in the
so
next
good with
couple
transitions.
weeks,
I'm so jealous.
what do you have your eye on right now, Brett, as far as things that are very concerning from your perspective?
Well, we're kind of in I guess what I'd say is like the middle stages of this whole OMP rulemaking process, where various trade groups that want to seek some change have put a couple bills forward. They're both being reviewed by the VLA committee. There's been some work sessions, and so we've kind of narrowed it down right now that there's an issue present where one of the chairs of the VLA committee, Chair Chiazzo, has basically the power to table these bills, which, pushes them off beyond where we need them to be in order to block the OMP rule process. So that's and why I say it's kind of the middle stage of what's going on is because if they are tabled, if the rules do go through, I highly anticipate a lawsuit put forth, probably class action style by just about every caregiver in the state of Maine versus the Office of Marijuana Policy. So, it's not the last of the fight, but certainly LD 1242, which was put together by Maine Craft Cannabis Association, certainly puts a lot of things in place to help to solve these problems. So
what's that bill in direct regard to, if I may ask, Brett? I'm sorry.
The primary function is that it requires that the Office of Marijuana Policy does an economic impact study.
Yes. Okay.
That's the one Derek Short was talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't have a set timeline on exactly how long the rules would be delayed for, but it basically says that they need to do the right analytics prior to making rules, not after the fact, and that they actually need to include caregivers in the process, which currently, caregivers don't have a seat at the table. So, if there's a group of caregivers out there that, have basically decided they want to align with big business, and I'm not going to toss around names or anything, but there is, one small group of businesses that have kind of aligned with the Curaleaf, the Wellness Connection mantra, but that's like a tiny, tiny minority of 5 or 10 businesses. And then the other 3,000 of us are like, whoa, we're just trying to be in business and support our families. We don't need, just absurd regulation that's never been heard of in any industry and, has zero track record of improving compliance, improving patient safety. Any of these things, any of these claims or buzzwords, national best practices, that's the one I hate the most.
Oh yeah, I despise that.
Yeah.
Despise
That's
that.
that's a great one.
Maine is literally the nation's best. So, why are we looking at states that are just wrought with problems and saying we need to copy that? Like, I don't know who thought that was a great idea, but it's just so backwards.
Can you see us, if given time to develop a little bit further, also not in some sense or some way self-regulating that as well to a certain degree, not by entity, but something where caregiver associations can kind of, okay, this is how we want to structure a little bit more, have a little bit more say in designing it rather than trying to adapt to it, the program or the changes.
So we do have some allies on the VLA committee. There are senators and representatives who do support their constituents and do stand up for cannabis and small business owners. So
there are, yeah.
There are. And so those members have said to these trade groups, what is the solution? So the problem with that is this is how, the OMP plays ball is they propose so many ridiculous regulations. We have to come to the table and then negotiate, we'll take these, we won't take these. And that we don't need any of them. There's not one single regulation in there that improves the cannabis program. And so we don't even want to go down that road of having to pick and choose and, we'll propose your own regulations. We actually need to deregulate. Like from where we are right now, there's areas where we're overregulated. Like medical is a pretty good program. Adult use is just a disaster. So the message in Maine needs to be to deregulate cannabis. And it doesn't mean like this whole idea that people are going to be dying and that it's going to be a public health issue, like Representative Hymanson wants everybody to believe. Like there is zero data that supports that. Show me one person in Maine that's died of cannabis. Show me people getting sick from cannabis. It just does not exist. So they can continue to lie and drum up data and call in, big tobacco lobbyists and scientists to come testify from Washington and, whatever. It doesn't change it. People are not dying. It's not a public health risk. So, we need to really push the deregulate cannabis message across the board.
Shirley?
Yeah, no, and I was going to say, too, this is actually something Dawson, made me aware of. So back in, a few months ago, there's a guy that actually came out on the news and said how he had cannabis dabs at what was it, Arcadia, Arcadia something dispensary, and it was on the news. He's saying, "Oh, I was like basically her, blah blah blah." He was literally just like, and he was a small caregiver on the news. Well, Dawson was telling me that how that was like a plant. That was like he thinks it was a plant so they could use that exact as an example. But guess what? They already came out with an article like several months later, like a couple months later after it happened with like not even maybe a month later, saying that it was inaccurate. They tested the product; it was clean. So that's now I don't know why people don't use this now more, but it was a prime example of where, look, we had a problem, but guess what? Look how we took care of it. You know what I mean? We took care of it. The product was clean. So it's like, it was just another way they were trying to smear, trying to have an example of like smearing local caregivers.
Yeah, and one example that we used and discussed in some of our trade groups and in testimony is that the industry self-regulates in this regard. We test all of our products, and it's not because we're required to by rule or law. We test them because that's what our customer wants. So, they are going to come to our store versus somebody else's because we offer test results. Same thing with, product tracing. So we put a batch number on every product that goes out the door from our facility. And if we have an issue with a product, we could do a recall. We have that ability. We don't need a cumbersome track and trace system with penalties for minor errors when a business that's operating well and being successful are already doing these things. There's no other way to be successful and keep track of cannabis inventory if you're not doing these things. So, to not even give the market an opportunity to self-regulate itself, the capitalism is supposed to function with every other business. It's just
it kind of makes it seem like they don't.
Yeah,
it kind of makes it seem like they aren't interested in negotiating or seeing the program, bettering the program from where it stands at this point.
I'll
not
lay
their
it out
goals.
for you. But no, because here's the issue. The state gets the primary money from adult use, like in terms of a percentage. So right now, the medical market has way more sales and way more sales tax per month. However, there's way more tax derived in the adult use system per dollar. So if they could convert all of medical into adult use, then the state would capture 25% of all the revenue in the cannabis industry versus 5%. That's what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no other, obviously big business, wellness connection, Curaleaf, they'd love to see the little guy pushed out too. And why they can so easily partner with the executive branch of the state government on that notion is because the government gets way more tax dollars if they can force the medical program out. So it's a win-win for big business, big cannabis business, and the executive branch of the government.
Yeah, right.
And so we're asking the legislature to step in because the legislature has been completely sidestepped in this process. Major substantive changes are supposed to be reviewed by the legislature, and every change in these rules, for the most part, is major. And they just are ignoring that fact. So we're just asking the legislature, hey, we think you guys should be reviewing these changes. If you agree, pass 1242, then all changes have to go through the legislature. Like, this affects a $500 million industry. So
yeah, it's one of those things where I don't understand how I've been doing some canvassing in the areas, and honestly, the biggest thing I'm seeing is my sample size is extremely small, so I'm not trying to like say these are. I'm proud to say I have a very small sample size, but the one thing that was occurring, there seems to be in Scarborough a lot of fear of smoking and driving. How do we feel we go that route? How do we feel about that? Because there's some states, for example, with medical cards, your DUI is like protected because it's your medical card. Is that how it is here in Maine? Do you know?
So there is no standard for cannabis DUI in terms of like a test. So if you don't show a very clear visual like impairment during a field sobriety test, then you're not going to get rung up for DUI. And so that's one issue. We passed social clubs in Maine, and I think social clubs would be such a cool addition to our industry.
Absolutely.
However, it's really difficult for regulators, for police, and even us as industry people to say, oh, this is a good idea when there's really no way to know, this is somebody's first time smoking cannabis. They're absolutely wasted and they're going to drive a car versus someone like one of us who could like smoke whatever and drive their car, and they just don't have the science figured out yet on that.
Right, because everyone's so different. And
Yeah.
and the other thing too is definitely in the medical side. I forget what state it is. I think it might be even good old Pennsylvania.
New Jersey's been pretty active from small individuals.
Well, I was thinking of there's like some states that with your medical card you're protected from like DUI.
Oh,
But
I would maybe.
I forget. I have to look on what state, but
Okay.
I got kind of sidetracked because I was going on a tangent because I was talking about in Scarborough, one of the biggest, even though my sample size is small, one of the big thing I kept on hearing was like smoking high and driving high. There was a lot of concern for that. That was like one of my biggest issues, or not issues, but things I heard repeated.
Okay, so I
Sorry.
came in a little bit later. That's all
No,
right. So Brett, what if you're going to be, if I can ask, you're going to be functioning as a medical store? Are you also planning a little bit more towards adult use if necessary from a business model because of what this could possibly or potentially change for the medical market?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it. We're keeping an eye on it. Currently the amount of patients in our state is just growing, and it seems like with a bunch of businesses focusing on adult use, there's plenty of a market for us to focus on with medical. And, we don't see any reason to rush into adult use. We've consumed 100% of our infrastructure in medical. So we really don't have, extra grow space or lab space or anything like that to switch over to adult use. So we'd be looking at, building out new facilities.
Right.
And stuff. So
yeah, I got you.
something we may do in year, 2 years, 3 years, but we're not rushing into it. We're just really fine tuning and perfecting and making sure we're just putting the highest quality craft products on the market possible right now.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Brett, anything else that you'd like to share before, or is that a good point to?
No, that was really great. We kind of hit all the high notes.
We did.
So.
That's all we're trying to do is hit the high notes, baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on.
We appreciate having you on.
Thank
as
you,
well.
and thank you
Thanks
for having me
your
as a guest judge or whatever the special title is. I'm very thankful to be one of 10.
Absolutely, we have
Thank
a
you.
few more we're still deciding on. So if anyone out there has a suggestion of just an absolute rosin connoisseur or hash connoisseur of any kind, shoot us a DM. Let us know what you think, and we're going to announce the list soon.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Hope
Take
we
care,
will.
guys. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
You too. Have a great night. Thanks,
Bye.
Brett. Bye-bye. Wow, you're a hash judge.
Yeah,
Got to get your hash shoes on.
no pressure.
No pressure at all. I like that role.
Yeah, I know exactly what I'm gonna wear. I'm gonna wear the new Butico hash shirt.
Yeah, you should.
That's exactly what I'm gonna wear. No.
Wait, did you say the half shirt?
No, hash. I gotta make the hash shirt a half shirt.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, it's gonna be
You
be
should be hashed
710.
out on all ends, dude.
It's 710, so
Make
it'll be
it so
probably
damn,
sweaty.
Like too much of it all over. You should do it.
Yeah.
Just to do it. Yeah, that's right. I like his designs.
Yeah, me
big
too.
shout out to the homie Bud Tico. He couldn't be here with us, a little under the weather, but
Yes.
he's got a grind, dude.
Yeah.
So we respect that. Take care
Absolutely.
of yourself. Listen, I'd like to give a shout out to Chris over at Cupcake as our final calling guest for
Oh
tonight.
yeah.
So hope those of you have been tuned in and watching us. We appreciate your love and support in the immediate moment. It's kind of fun to do a live stream. Well, you know that though. You do
Yeah.
it all the time.
I don't do live a lot anymore. I try to stay off the live.
Right. No, never mind. I'll ask Chris.
Ask Chris. Christian.
Hello?
Hey Chris, how you doing? It's Carrie and Derek over at the podcast.
Hey, Carrie. Hey, Derek. I was actually just watching the show.
Sweet.
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
Appreciate you, brother.
I don't know what more I can say, homie. Just summed it all up.
No, hey, we just want to hear your sweet voice. Talk to us for a few minutes.
How
Preach
are
the
you,
good
man?
word.
I don't know what to say after that. He pretty much hit the nail on the head.
No,
My
that's
biggest
fine.
thing is I'd like to know why we still don't have 2 caregivers on the panel.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
I mean,
I think we
a lot
take.
of policy. Well, things are being written with people at a table that really have no practical idea of what the hell's going on.
No, that's true. Yeah, when you look at it, especially because they made that switch over to the VLA when they used to exist in the DHHS.
Right.
And they changed those groups shortly before this whole decision-making needs to happen. It's not like you're using the best resources for, giving you information.
Right.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
But to the credit of a good group of them, some of them made some pretty big strides in a short period of time. And I didn't expect that.
In particular.
Yeah, I felt like Representative Corey was really kind of lending a good voice and backing up what I had.
He's the one that got turned for us, because I remember the first time he was definitely not about us, but it was so great to see him. Barb Wood was another one in Portland. She asked the good questions. She said, it just makes sense to have these people. I think she said get the people that get dirty. I think were her words.
Yeah.
And I was like, this lady gets it. As soon as she said that, I was like, all right, she honestly gets what's happening. And obviously the unsung heroes, Mr. Craig, Senator Craig Hickman. I love listening to him. I love listening to him anytime he speaks up for us. That's for darn sure.
He has been a big help.
And that timing was really lucky and fortunate in a sense for us too, because if that doesn't exist at that point, I mean, we don't have the opportunity to get somebody of Craig Hickman's insight and support into the situation. It's been amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy time.
It is, isn't it? You're good.
It really is.
How about things up your way? You're settling. You're moving into you finally have some progress, do you not?
Yeah, we're about to turn on the power at the new warehouse and bring in plants, so we're really excited to get back to work.
Glad to hear that for you.
It's been a long road. What?
Glad to hear that for you. It's been a while.
Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been a while.
I mean, that had to have forced you to become a little bit more creative, yes, from what you originally had planned on?
Well, I definitely had to step out of my comfortable shoes, that's for sure.
Mm.
It went from, I don't know, it's a lot. It's a lot of learning, a lot of being patient, which I'm not big on.
Yeah.
Patience is a virtue of mine.
You think that's about the one lesson you were taught right about now? What's been going on lately? I'm guessing, huh? You're like, damn, I really worked on this hard. Patience-wise.
It's a lot, not just me. A lot of people have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this. So, I mean, I feel pretty blessed and fortunate that we've, standing back. I don't know. I guess a lot of people try to say we're the big dogs, and I'm like, man, I started in a garage years ago, dude. We just put everything we put everything back into what we're doing, and
that's how you're going to get progress. That's how you're going to make progress and become better.
We had to be a big enough size to where, you're economically, we've got a pretty large staff, I should say. So we had to expand and get out of our comfort zone. We could have stayed where we're at probably for another year or two, but it was time to move on.
It was the right time to make the leap up, I suppose.
Well,
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Puck, Rex, and everything was coming. So I mean, the days of Rex really kind of messed up the whole program. We all know I voted no, so.
Yes, we do know that.
And yes, we do have a conditional rec license, but we're going to hold off as long as we can, and we'll see what happens. I mean, honestly.
You'd rather function, obviously. We'd all rather see the medical. Yeah.
I've always preferred the caregiver side. I mean, you got a nice big rec shop, and you got lines out the door because everybody wants to get in there and get your stuff, which is cool. But that medical person's not going to get the time at the counter to actually, the bud tender, to get to know them, ask them questions, and find something that's really fine-tuned for them, or even be able to work with them. It's not the same. So, but like the gentleman before was saying, rec is here, and as long as that tax dollar is what the almighty government wants,
Yeah. Yeah.
Caregivers.
There's no denying that they're gonna get it.
Well, you guys, we've all been at the rallies and stuff, and the last one was one of the biggest ones I've been at, and even that wasn't. I mean, there's over
it wasn't that big.
Guys. There's 3,000 of us, and how many of us do you think were really there?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a smaller
size. And the biggest thing I noticed was that, like a lot of the people going in were saying that there's no real education. The people voting on these bills have no idea what the hell they're about or who they're going to impact.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's been a lot of the activists that I've noticed, though, and I'm glad that we're having people who are able and knowledgeable to be speaking out on behalf of, too. We've had great representation there. Susan Meehan was one of the last.
She's the best.
More recently. I didn't realize that one of the policy changes was going to be pretty much one infraction and you're done, like the penalties, right?
I haven't. I get updated on stuff, so that's the first time.
No, hey, I'm telling you, it was bad news.
No, I remember. Yeah,
it would have to be one hell of an infraction. I mean, I don't see that being. And then is there different wording? Is there different levels of infractions here? Is there a warning?
No clarification on that. Infraction? Yeah, that's where it lacks.
There's no clarification in anything they do mostly.
No, right, and that ambiguousness is probably very purposeful. So
yeah, keep the gray area.
Yeah.
Right. No, that just wouldn't be fair. And then who's in charge of that? Who's making that call?
I don't know who. I mean, really, I don't know if we've reached it. I think there's still plenty more we could grow into with a few years here. But obviously, the fight's kind of now, or at least the start of it.
Honestly, if Maine's best chance of any tax dollars is to support and stand by the caregivers of Maine, the corporation cannabis coming in isn't going to do anything for our state.
Oh, no, not
they
at
want
all.
the big tax dollars, then let us transition into that and still somehow keep the program for medical patients, and have 21 plus be able to buy cannabis without a medical card.
I think you might have in a way touched on it too. Without being able to share that data percentage wise, I mean, yes, we were able to give them that. You can't really base any kind of
you can't get a feel
with that. You can't inform the public based off that number. Look at what happened here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
They have a lawsuit going for an impact study, right?
Has somebody? I mean, I think I certainly hear that as a purpose or a reason to.
No, absolutely.
Sure. Yep. But I don't know if it's actually happened yet.
No, I think that's the thing. I think I thought don't hold
sure
me.
That's what he was touching on last time.
Yeah.
Who like Mark? You mean?
I know that there will be a lawsuit if they put most of these pass these bills.
No, right.
No, I think
that's what Brett was saying too. Before that.
Lawsuit, you can bet your ass.
Absolutely.
Well, let's hope we have some sort of resolution to a more positive degree than that. But yeah, to know that you guys are prepared that might be a next phase is good to hear. It makes me think that this continues on and has a chance for the more invested we become in it.
I won't lay down without a fight. That's for sure.
No, I didn't. We didn't think so. That's for damn sure.
No.
It's not who you are. I mean, it was great to see you up at the protest too. But you've always been there in that sense.
Yeah, let's touch on that because because you're in the main one of the main because of your truck. What happened with your truck?
Oh yeah, I still have no idea. From what I don't want to speak ill of anybody, but from what I understand, the bill was accidentally written for only rec. And then at the time, she was supposed to write in something for medical, and I still have no idea what has happened with that.
So really,
I'm not gonna lie, I've been so busy with the build, you guys. Unless somebody calls me and says, "Hey,"
they're not going to be on your radar.
Right.
Yeah.
I was actually reading through the messages from the Maine Cannabis Coalition the other day just to try to get caught up on stuff late night.
Yeah, right. That's when everything just about happens.
No
you get to
excuse.
choose.
I get it, but I'm a little being pulled at both ends right
No,
now.
you are. Yeah, no doubt. But that you took a moment or two, and especially tonight, and on all the times you have in the past, we appreciate that.
I always try to stay informed,
Mm-hmm.
Find that balance in life. But yeah, no, at that protest, I was really happy. A lot of people came out, especially with what was going on with Dawson and all that. And like I said, the biggest thing I saw is the education. Being able to educate the people that are making these writing these bills and then passing them, educate them to what's really going on, who's affected by them, the long-term short-term causes of it. And like that gentleman before said, that they have to do some analytics because making rules before you know the data it's ignorant.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, being placed out front of the goals. Yeah.
I hear everybody argue every day about it, but like wrecked here, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, right. With tears.
Seems to be what's causing a lot of our problems in the caregiver industry is that they're trying to align caregivers to be like rats, which you really can't do.
No, you shouldn't. I did hear them.
Like we say, if it's not broken.
I've been in touch with growers all over the United States, and we have definitely one of the best programs, if not the best program in the United States. Period. For medical cannabis.
As it's existed, we've been fortunate for sure. Yeah. It felt a lot more hands off, and then it became this development, this really thing. We could have we could have done this without big business ever getting involved. We really could have, and it would have been.
Honestly, that is exactly why I voted no. Because I knew without setting it up properly that's exactly. I mean, it's capitalism at its best.
You're talking about the 2016 vote.
What?
You're talking about the 2016 vote for adult use. Yeah, back then. Yeah. I remember lamenting that a little bit, and I knew it wasn't a good cause.
We all said it when it happened. That's the beginning of the end.
And again, it was sort of put forth at a point where we still kind of thought it was, the general public thought it was another really good victory in the sense for what the medical scene was going to be. I remember thinking that too. I heard people telling me congratulations. I'm like, no.
Right.
Like, shit.
They use the term legalization as a nice shield.
Well, the more legalized it gets, the more restrictions and rules it gets. So I don't know how. It seems like the more legal we get, the worse it gets.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Less legal it actually gets.
No, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, it does. Chris, I want to thank you for we want to thank you for coming on. Is there anything you'd like to share last?
Thank you guys for all that you're doing.
Thanks.
Getting the word out there. Through discussion.
Yeah. Hopefully, this is our first time pulling off a live stream, so it's kind of fun to do. But we're hoping the overall message gets out there, and I think we'll get more video in future. Derek looks good on video.
I try. I got some sun recently.
There was this picture. There's this picture I think that was on Instagram of you hanging out right out front of a policeman up at the rally, the protest when we're up in Augusta. And you just look so damn comfortable, Chris.
I'm not too worried about that anyway.
No. We appreciate what you do. Thank you. Take care of yourself. And
thanks, man.
Good luck. All right.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Well, 2 hours, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done one of those straight in quite a while. Things you want to talk about in general or in particular, or do you feel like we've covered quite a bit here?
Yeah, we covered quite a bit, I think.
Do you know anything about how Dawson's doing, by the way? I have I've only seen recent posts or not
there
recent
was
even,
actually I was told they did a nice. I'll just read the most recent update on the GoFundMe.
Okay, sure.
I think they're I'm pretty sure his dad did one. And I actually haven't.
Okay, I did see that one.
I don't think I've read it yet, actually. So
okay.
We'll read it.
Sure.
I've just been busy today.
But we are love in our hearts and the way the community's been responding, and you've been a big part of allowing to align that to make that happen for Dawson. So I want to thank you from somebody on the outside looking in, what you and Bud Tico and many others have done to help raise and to be a part, as well as
Well, thank you, but I just want to make sure it's all Bud Tico and the designers. I strictly
get the messaging out.
Or I just knew who made shirts and who did designs.
Yeah, right.
And I take little credit. I really encourage people moving forward with just apparel in general. This whole online webs, like for Dawson's t-shirts, Bud Tico set up for us. it was so easy, and it makes everything so easier because you don't have any excess really. You order exactly like whatever
On
the
the go.
freaking person.
Yep.
It's pre-orders, so like how it works. That's what some people don't understand because no one's really done this yet. So it's like you order it, we make them, and then you get them. It's not like, oh, like we don't make them as they just like.
It's not like here.
Yeah, we don't buy. We don't buy. We don't. Yeah, they don't buy them. Like we don't buy them as like a lot and then like try to dish them out that way. We try to be efficient as possible. But
good to have that capability.
Yeah,
though, as well.
I mean,
I think it's attractive enough. So
for
people
sure,
just be a little patient with the process. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, and it's way more efficient in the long run. So I really thank Bud Tico and the design for the hashtag Dude for Dawson first T-shirt. That was created by Bud Tico himself with his font, and then the second shirt, the one I'm wearing. Was done by Sticky Claws.
Yeah.
And then hopefully next month we have Hallia's art. Is it? It's
Yes,
Hallie,
it
right?
is. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
it is.
I always
That's the way I would say it.
And I yeah, because But
Correct me if you will.
yes, with her own design and with I know she's a founder of was it Women's. What you had a part?
Women's Cannabis Connection.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Of
Cool.
Maine.
Yes. I wanted to make sure I said it right.
I think I keep adding the of Maine.
She snuck a little sneak peek of what they're doing. They have one coming out. It's going to say Doobs it for Dawson. It looks really cool.
It does look really cool.
I'm
I like
super
the
pumped
design.
for that one to come out next month. But for me personally, again, like for me personally, I like I always say, I've been saying this quote, like I'm just one patient doing my part. I think Dawson would do the same for me if I was in his position. I would hope. I think he would try at least. And I don't know, he's helped so many people.
In the past.
Yeah,
It
dude.
only seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't do it for the thank you. I just do it because I hear someone needs help.
No, but it doesn't hurt to hear it every once in a while. It's good to hear thank you. Because I think so. I see it.
I appreciate that.
And I would have done that to Bud Tico if he would have been here
No,
as
for
well,
sure,
in that sense,
100%.
too. But I, knowing a past relationship as I did between you guys, that's why I think it matters.
Yeah.
Always good. So the family, I think, based off of what I've seen, good positive signs.
Oh shit! I was gonna read that. Sorry.
Slow sort of direction.
Sorry. Let me read that real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I had it just pulled up. I forgot what I was doing. So it was Dawson's dad. He's making strides every day. He's so amazing. We are grateful and so happy. Wish you'd share all with you. The doctors have gradually taken Dawson off of most support systems. He's no longer on a ventilator. He have a trachea tube, which has been reduced in size and will likely capped soon. Once the tube is capped, Dawson will be able to talk. He sometimes tries to talk now, and we feel badly because most of the time we can't understand what he's trying to tell us. He's still on dialysis, but his kidneys are improving. He started receiving physical and occupational therapy. His wounds have healed dramatically. While Dawson has been in critical care, visiting policies are strict and limited, visiting immediate family and over the age of 16. While his nephew Hudson was here this week, he really wanted to see Dawson. Hudson's 14 and has a very special relationship with Uncle Dawson. We tried to smuggle him in, and he walked in, and Dawson smiled and mouthed the word hi. He gave Hudson the thumbs up, and that may sound easy, but right now this is huge progress. Yesterday I was spending time with Dawson. He was mostly sleeping. We know he needs to sleep and heal. So I mean, I can keep reading, but it's extremely long.
Nice positive steps in the right direction, but it's a continual slow maturity or slow improvements.
Right.
Yeah. Stable improvements.
No, absolutely. So he's definitely getting better. I know at one point the chant was to get Dawson to Boston, but since he's doing so good doing so good, they might wait a couple more weeks. So
bring him all the way back,
and bring him all the way back to Maine. So
that's attractive.
Yeah. So So he's doing well. I'm well for his condition. He's improving, and that's all we can ask for.
Yeah. That is all we can ask for. So, but it's been nice to see the community reaction, has it not? It seems like it was a nice outpouring from all directions. For the
yeah, I one of my proudest.
That's one of those things that I thought
one of the proudest
happened.
things I've ever seen is when I saw the letterhead to the VLA members with, with the coalition, with the Maine Growers Alliance. That was I made it not to be nerd. I made the cover page of my Facebook. Because it was just such a defining moment. I wanted to see a letterhead like
we
that.
had talked about before, remember?
Yeah.
Like, sort of like these groups, perhaps, and I don't think we knew everybody or knew everything to talk about, like who represented across, but to know that it happened, that it came along, and I again, where it showed up, their strength in what they showed that day. That's great.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like I always say, moving forward, it's always educate, win, lose, or draw. For me personally, I just will always be driven until everyone's out of prison for cannabis. That's when I might calm down, but until then, I will keep continuing to fight. I gotta keep in mind of all the people that are still in jail for this plant and making money. So that's.
I think that's where I came up with those numbers, thinking about how percentages or states like that, and thinking how much of that population exists within those states too, and why aren't things changed? What is it?
I have to look too.
It can not make you look at social injustices, because that does feel like a big part of it as well.
I wish I looked up his name, but there was just recently an African American fellow who was shot by police in, I think it was like Texas, over less than like a gram of weed. So, and people were dying still over weed. I mean, I seen it in my hometown. There was like a 14, 16-year-old like shot each other over weed. And like, but it's okay. And this is why people don't understand too. Like, okay, if you want to push people to the illicit market, you're gonna see more fun. You're gonna see threatening things. Like, it's straight up. You know what I mean? It's that simple.
It is that simple. Hey, what are you thinking? Bogart time?
Yeah.
Bogart time.
It's always Bogart time.
You want to play some music for however long you want to play some music? Come on up to the mic for a minute. Tell us what's going on, brother.
Here, let me get it.
You're gonna have to get in on one of the mics with us. Or here. Just use mine.
Well, I wanna. I'll share with Shirley. At least this way, I'm in the camera here. Hi, everyone. I'm a fan of the band Boozam. If you don't know what Boozam is, the best way to put it, Boozam in the word language of Dutch, it is the gutter or the center, the apex of shit, kind of like a black hole, or the breasts, kind of like what he likes to wear. So that's what kind of naturally just works.
Did you see my jar?
I did see your jar. So if you want to understand what Boozam is, Boozam at the end of the day.
It's an experience.
Exactly.
Are you going to share that experience with us tonight?
I'm going to do exactly what you're thinking. But at the same time, the whole thing about
fucking wrong.
Help.
No, the whole thing about Boozam is
Let's hear it.
we got something going on that's going to take away everything that we thought we had. And all you got to do is show up.
All you got to do
is you don't even have to speak. You just got to show them in numbers that you want change, that you want what you're supposed to have already had years ago.
How many years ago?
It's a facade.
The facade of a few years ago.
No, it's just it's the facade.
Oh, everything. Yes.
The reality is we never had it. But now that we realize that we could really have this, we got to show up. And that's kind of what this is that there are people like me who don't realize that there's that voice. Well, that's what this is. That's that voice, but it's different. It's the same thing as what you're doing, but it's just a little louder. and that ain't nothing wrong. So
Nothing
don't
wrong with that.
Don't get me wrong. It's about the people like me who have been out there for as long as we have been out there, hoping to have a voice, and now we've got that voice. But at the same time, there can be people just as quieter than me. But tonight, it's a little louder whenever you're ready to go. Just a little louder.
I want to see it. I experienced a little bit last night, but this full effect of, do you want the lights as bright as they are, or should we dim them?
For the record, I still have no idea what's happening.
I'm gonna get off mic at this point. I think what we'll do on Shirley and I's end, perhaps want to sign off and let the rest of the live stream be
absolutely. I'm totally cool with that.
Thank you so much for being on, dude.
Really
good time.
Yeah.
What's that?
In a little bit, about 5 minutes. You do what you got to do.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Get yourself
whatever you need.
You know, this
whatever
is where
you
we
need to
just
do, my
pre-roll.
man.
We want to thank you, Duke, always watching over this little nest egg of ours tonight. It was pretty cool.
We were like, and then we did good.
Yeah.
Lift off. So, but absolutely. I appreciate you inviting me on. Like I said, I'm always trying to help out any way I can. And I always enjoy talking to you.
Same here.
So for me, it's, I'm just glad. I think Mark said it. One thing, Mark, I really liked with some of this activism for some of these people didn't activate until 2019 or 20. So, it feels good that people understand now why we have to do sometimes. And listen, me personally, I'm not trying to, everyone's gonna
There's
they say
a lot of people who are out of touch though too, who are with it, who are growers.
No, right.
There's a ton of them still.
They don't understand, and it's okay. And I can take that. Not everyone's gonna think my view sometimes or what I do is a little erratic.
All right.
But I promise, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And if that's pushing the envelope or expressing my First Amendment right, in any way possible, I am going to make sure I do my best every single time.
You were down in Scarborough, and this is a prime example of when you spent some time today. And you were within talking distance, correct?
Yes.
Or of representative?
So
did we share that already, or did you want to?
I'll share it right now real quick.
Okay.
So all we did was today is, backtrack. So we made sure I went usually the day before, and I knew my route I was going to take to his house. So I wanted to make sure I at least educated those neighbors on what I was going to be, we were going to have a protest.
Yeah.
Just to be community outreach, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Just
make your presence felt a little bit, but in a positive way.
And trust me, I always joke, no one has seen me talk to the public because these people I need are the people. They're the people. They're not a suit usually. You know what I mean? There's someone's aunt or someone's dad or grandpa. You know what I mean? Someone sometimes just want to bullshit. Honestly. So
yeah, right. Yeah.
So for me, I went with 6 other people this morning, and we walked down the streets chanting, "Hey, hey, ho, ho, Chris Chiazzo has to go." We chanted it all the way down to his end of his driveway, which is obviously on a public street.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it about 5 or 10 minutes straight in front of the driveway. And we paused for about 10 minutes. And then we did it for another 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we were leaving...
You got a good singing group there.
Oh, yeah. We were
good
strong.
Chanting group.
We were strong. And then as we were leaving to walk back up the road... that's when he appears from his neighbor's house, his neighbor's driveway.
Interesting.
And he said, "Oh, I'm just letting the neighbors know what are happening." And I responded with, "Well, I already was here earlier this week to let them know and educate them what was happening." Mm-hmm. And I let them know about the petition that we were getting his name signed.
Did you hit a lot of the houses next to him?
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
Proximity?
Yes.
Right
around
good
it.
for you.
And then at one point he said he received the flyer and that I have to be careful to come on private property. And I said, it wasn't posted so I have no issue. I have no issue there whatsoever.
No.
But I only did that when I was canvassing. I did not,
Yeah. No, good for you. Good job. Good job. No, you don't overstate it.
And my thing is the fact that he couldn't even talk to us. He felt the need to continue walking. He can't even face the people that, frankly, put him
in the area. Yeah,
so,
the people who he should be speaking with.
Right.
Why would you run away?
And to be clear,
people?
and it's complete. I want to be very clear about something too. This isn't. It's not like this is the first time this guy's heard. But he hasn't answered my emails. He hasn't called back several people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some, not some. I'm not saying all, but a good percent. Emails I know that are being filtered. I listened to the VL Mays early that one time, and they let us all know very clearly they were filtering out certain emails.
How many terms has he been a rep now?
I honestly have no idea. It's going to be his last.
No, it's his first.
Oh, yeah, good. And it's going to be his last, freshman.
Yes.
But
so there could be that sway, just if you look at different dynamics through politics, there could be that sway with the first term. Somebody will give you guidance from above a little bit. I'm saying that. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying that.
Wait, no, what are you saying? Sorry.
That there might be guidance from above in some of these key issues on how a Democrat should be reacting to what their reply or what their answer should be right now.
Right, and
kind of a touting of the party line is really what it's.
So that's one.
So having Craig in there and seeing the influence that's happened,
right?
Yeah, that's been positive.
And like I said, there's been a lot.
I shouldn't say it's only him.
No, right. But he's a big, huge piece of the puzzle. But honestly, it has some. I know for a fact that some of the calls have won over some of the reps,
the people
absolutely.
who are part of the 14
absolutely. So your calls and emails are being effective. I mean, Patrick Corey is a great example. Representative Corey has been a great example of someone that
who's been willing to have dialogue too, though.
No, that's what I mean. But enough now. But if you look at the very first one, he was like, bah! But like by the second one, he was like one of our leading speakers for us.
It's been great to hear him talk about it
because he's one of the people that actually does listen to the people. It seems like that he listens to the people.
Well, yeah. I think he's willing to search out information too, and to make his own decision. He strikes me obviously as somebody who's willing to go in there and explore the facts. And you know what? Maybe he might have explored it and said, I feel like he would have given an honest look at it. And if he didn't agree with it, like what we were doing, I think it would have come down the other way too.
Right.
But in this situation, with this being our topic and how it's going to impact Maine, a state that he's representing right now, I think for the people, I think he sees it for sure. I think he's been empathetic in what he's looking at, but he's been very precise too. He had talked about the different things that I remember thinking that were of importance. Maybe scale is what's important to maintain a medical program, and that becomes sort of the restriction in and of itself.
Right.
That way you don't need rules that shouldn't be governing an entity of that size,
right?
The same way as governing everybody of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or whatever exists above. So it's very unfair for the playing field.
And the other thing too is it's like I've been thinking about too. It's like I kind of been joking a little bit. It's like people get mad. Like people will get mad at me or would get mad at me when I would do it the wrong way. But when I follow the Constitution or the First Amendment by petitioning and practicing my legal right, it can still piss people off. And it just goes to show you're just not ever, because you're not going to make everyone happy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's what it just continues to show. Even if you follow the constitutional laws or your constitutional rights, some people are going to be like, that's too much. It's like, well, okay, you don't have to practice that way. You know what I mean? It's like your line might be a little bit farther away. That's why we made those zones for that. If you wanted to stay in the yellow zone, people just stayed in the yellow zone and they actually showed up and still did their part. And you don't have to be a zone orange guy. You don't have to, and that's okay. Not everyone's made for zone orange, and like that's totally okay. Not one is better than the other.
No,
but the fact, like, I'm not asking for, like, I'm asking just everyone. Like I always say, just do your part. If you're a good emailer, effing email. If you're good, like, not to be like blunt, but if you're good at like with money and you have money to donate your money.
Yeah, right.
Like you know what I mean? Like,
give your time if you can give your time. Give your resources if that's it, and give your money if that's it.
Exactly.
But do something.
Yes,
of that sort, right?
like there's like if anyone ever bitches about a protest and you're not there, shut the fuck up. That's how I honestly feel. Like, cause like in my case, it's like sometimes people like to nitpick about stuff, but it's just like when you're only there with 15 other people and it's supposed to be a representation of like a large sum, it's like, or even like Cupcake said in the last phone call, it's like, dude, we got shown out by the Lobstermen. Like, yes, that was our largest protest ever. Happy with the show out. I appreciate it, but we can do better, and we have to. Like,
but Lobstermen a long time ago realized that that their protection came within the numbers.
Yes,
they learned that a long time ago.
How can we learn that, you think?
I think we can.
Do you think we're on the path now?
Well, I think this is a good start.
Yeah.
I think if
first bite.
I think if there are enough successes where business is still viable, I think hopefully we can get stronger off this.
Yeah.
And more united.
I hope so too.
I agree.
And
That's what I'm looking for.
And listen, like, even this is one. Bogart, are you ready to go?
Come on, get your ass up there. Last thought?
Yeah, all I was going to say is it's like, I'm just super happy.
Wait,
Go
what
ahead.
if you're talking while he's prepping and he puts the camera on him? Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Want to say goodbye
okay.
to the people at home on this?
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you over there.
Bye.
But you're going to listen to Shirley's voice until
Well,
Bogart
I don't
goes
know.
on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to talk that much now.
No,
but
okay.
I forget what I was going to say anyway. Now. It's already gone.
I didn't mean to do that.
It's
to
okay.
you.
Dude, it's okay. Everything has been said.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done a good job like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2.5 hours. I have a 4-month pregnant girlfriend, probably hungry,
I've already
pissed.
put you out and all of our viewers out.
Yeah, so
quite the long journey.
yeah, we're gonna wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
All right,
I'm
thanks.
gonna listen too, but thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Appreciate it. I'll see you around soon.
I hope so too. Foreshadowing.
Cut the mics. All right, I will now. Oh, that's all right. Okay. I did the double. So we got a new segment of recording. Bogart.
Let it rip. So what is this called again?
So the name of my band is called
Buzz.
Boozem.
Oh, Boozem. I didn't say it with an accent.
There's a over the U and an effect over the E.
Boozem.
And if you paid any attention to
Do you think it goes better with air filtration systems on or off?
and it turn them off. And if it goes to any sense of anything, let me tell you real quick. You know that there's a country between France and Germany, so much like what's going on right now, this is the bridging of the gap between what you got and what they don't. Putting everything, you gotta be done.
I'm very happy with that. Also, does it stay on the link, or does it get removed? Okay. You'll get a video on YouTube. That way I can post that to everybody without the link. Okay. Will that happen tomorrow?
Once we stop the stream, I think it'll just show up on your.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Just within.
All right, everybody.
You heard me.
You feel the presence? It's gonna get a little louder in here. As of right now, I don't even know what's gonna be. I still haven't even turned on the whole thing. It just woke up. Oh yeah. Let's see this. Ready? I haven't even played yet. Ready?
Yeah.
I woke up in a new Bugatti. The shirt's off.
Here, turn off the lights, maybe though.
You're
that
on,
way we go.
just so
Turn
you
the
know.
lights. Turn
Let